Sound check for council, sound check for council.
Ready? Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Members of council, the meeting is now live. And I want to welcome everyone who's here to this City Council meeting today, including our visitors, our staff, and most importantly, our young athletes, which we'll be getting to very soon. But in the interim, I wanted to say welcome to Councillor Tom Jackson, Councillor Ted McMeekin, Councillor Narinder Nan, Councillor Maureen Wilson, Councillor Matt Francis, Councillor Mark Taddison, Councillor Jeff Beattie, Councillor Esther Pauls, Councillor Craig Kassar, Councillor Cameron Kretsch, Councillor Rod Clark, and Councillor Alex Wilson. And I don't know if we have anybody online, but if we do, I'm sure we'll be able to welcome them if they arrive. So on that note, Clerk Trenum, could you please confirm that quorum is in fact present?
Mayor Horvath, quorum is present.
Excellent, thank you. So as the fact that quorum is present, I'd like to call the City Council meeting to order. And of course, our first order of business, as always, is the singing of the national anthem. So I'd ask folks who can to please rise. Thank you. Please be seated. The City of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, the City of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, North America, and we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbours, partners, and caretakers. Members are reminded that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during council meetings. And so we'll get right into it with the approval of the agenda. Clerk Trenum, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor Horvath, there are 3 added communication items. 5.7, correspondence respecting an event held at the Sackville Senior Centre. 5.8, correspondence from Grassy Stearns respecting people experiencing homelessness. 5.9, correspondence from the Honourable Justin Trudeau in response to the Mayor's letter endorsing the AMO actions respecting advocacy on homeless encampments. There are 2 revised motions, 7.3 and 7.4. There are 2 added notice of motions, 8.1 commemorating September 30th, the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation as a municipal holiday, and 8.2 funding for the costs associated with the road closure for the Keith Neighborhood fundraising event in Ward 3. Additional note that the private and confidential matter update on cybersecurity incident has been withdrawn and will be brought to a future meeting.
Thanks very much. As we welcome Councillor Danko, may I then have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Moved by Councillor Paul, seconded by Councillor Kretsch. Any discussion on the agenda as amended? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote, please. Yeah, it's mine is a thumbs up. Sorry, I forgot to log on to the actual meeting. And that carries 13-0. Thanks very much. We're now on to the declarations of interest. Members of council, are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, we will then go into the ceremonial activities, and it's my pleasure then to invite somebody out to help us with that particular task. As many of you know, this past July, Hamilton sent a team of young athletes to represent Canada and Hamilton at the International Children's Games held in Leon, Mexico. I think we have a video to show folks now so that they can get a little bit of a sense of how amazing that experience was for our young people from Hamilton, as well as our Councillor Pauls, who represented me on that trip. With much gratitude, Councillor Pauls. Okay, here we go.
Esta Olimpiada es para ti, el sueño de tu corazón. Tu triunfo hará que seas el futuro de tu gran nación.
Tu esfuerzo y tu dedicación dan vida a nuestro corazón. El ganar es mi ilusión.
Tu sangre y todo tu sudor se convierte en pura emoción. Somos héroes con mucho valor, los mejores, los campeones de hoy.
Tu equipo es tu gran motor que te impulsa para ser campeón con amor. Hoy lucharás tu misión, vencer y lograrlo.
Somos atletas los mejores, niños de acero que jamás se rinden. Somos los héroes de toda una generación, pasión, poder y llenos de ilusiones.
I'm sure that brings back some fond memories to the folks in the chambers here, including Councillor Pauls. These annual games are an enriching opportunity for global athletes to gather in one place, motivate each other to reach for the stars, and to come home with lifelong bonds of friendship. There were 18 Hamilton athletes sent to Lyon this year, participating in soccer, taekwondo, track and field, and basketball. As I have mentioned, Ward 7 Councillor Esther Pauls, who is an International Children's Games board member, represented the City of Hamilton as an official dignitary. She was, of course, the perfect choice, since as a triathlete herself, Councillor Pauls attended these games with the first-hand knowledge of the kind of unfailing determination these young Hamiltonians would bring to each of their respective sports. Because behind each games-related event is a young person who has had to learn how to push their body and mind through unrelenting aches and pains, early mornings, weekends, heavy training schedules, injury, and moments of self-doubt to find the courage and the confidence that it takes to compete in an international event at an international level. Without further ado then, I would like to ask Councillor Pauls to come to the podium to introduce and call on the coaches and athletes to come down to the podium and when their name is called to receive their certificate of recognition from the City of Hamilton.
Okay, Mayor.
Handing it over.
All right, but don't go too far. First of all, we want to give you a gift.
Oh, my goodness.
First of all, I don't know, we did the Ancaster Old Mill race. It's a 5 and 10 for racing funds, and we raised quite a bit of funds to help the athletes. So I got a couple of shirts,
That's
Ancaster Old Mill, and some of the sponsors, but this is a nice jacket. Leon, International Children's Game, City of Hamilton, to our beautiful mayor. I want you to wear with pride. It was an exciting thing, so thank you.
Thank
and
you
you know
so
what?
much.
There's a hat. I don't know if you wear hats, but I'll tell you, it's great. This hat traveled everywhere. Everybody wanted it. So, Mayor, this is your hat.
I'll wear it.
I think
I
it's
wear it
great.
with Hamilton pride.
Hamilton pride. So this is for you.
It's beautiful.
Yes, and this is a little bag, and these are the event we did. So thank you again. You're an amazing mayor with a passion for our city, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you, and I say thank you for the gifts, but the biggest gift is a leader like you, and what you've been able to do in terms of inspiring these young athletes, and of course, the gift of the athletes, their parents, their coaches, just their spirit for our community. Thank you all so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm just going to say a few words because the real heroes are right there. Not only the athlete, but the parents. Parents, I love you. I got to know all of you from all different wards, which is great. Ward 6, everybody was represented. And it was so exciting because I got to know you and your child, and it was amazing. I went to every sport. I got up early, I made sure I was there, and I made sure I cheered and cheered and cheered. And so, but behind all this, there's a committee. And the committee that I belong to, and I want to tell you, I want to recognize them. First of all, I want to recognize Ed Dunn. He is the past president. He's been doing it for 32 years. Can you stand up, please? Ed Dunn. He's our past. Now, it doesn't mean that he's not involved anymore. He's there in every meeting, you know? So he's still part of it, but he's the past president. Then I want to introduce Greg Maychak and Lisa Roger. Do you know they're the president now. We had to take 2 for 1. So they're the president and the chair. I want to thank you for your leadership. I also want to thank Janine Gaunt. Janine, you're amazing. Part of our city. She works for a wonderful city. She has so much insight. I love you, Janine. Okay, then we have Mustafa Jamal. Oh, what a leader. He came down and he had those kids organized, made sure they went to bed early, made sure they followed the rule. You were amazing. Thank you. And then we have Leanne McConnell. Is she here? I don't know if she could make it, but she's amazing. She's been in the committee for a long time. And of course, they have me now, so I don't know if they like it or not, but anyways, thank you. Thank you. We're going to start with basketball. And I want to tell you, this experience, I want Hamilton to hear. I want council to hear. This experience for these children and the parents will last forever. You know, sport, music, arts are so important for our soul. They really are. And I love what the mayor said when we talked about our city, that really we should have entertainment even in the middle of the night till midnight. Over there at Leon, believe it or not, there were so many things going on. It was unbelievable. Basketball, there was music. It was unbelievable. Midnight, they were still partying. So they know how to do it. It is amazing. And the mayor there was wonderful. They call her the Presidente. So maybe we'll call you the Presidente. Yeah, we'll take it. It was just amazing, amazing time. So we're going to, no further, we're going to have the athlete come down. We're going to start with basketball. And the first one is Jasmine Gooch. Please come down. Mayor, can you stand here as we give it, and then we'll take a picture, and then they go. There you go. We're going to call them all, and we'll take a picture all together. Okay, so it's quicker. Sorry. No, you can stand here right now, and we'll take a picture, and then you move us together. Ava Nair. There you go. There you go. Thank you. We have Reed Nelson. You can stand here. And we have Janessa Tuscan Batista. Awesome. You should see them play basketball. They were great. It was 3-on-3, so it was great. It was great cheering. So let's take it with the mayor and us, and then you move on. You can stand here. We good? Great. Oh, you are. Thank you. All right. Let's take a nice picture.
1, 2, 3.
Where's the coach?
Okay. We have. Oh my goodness. follow my notes right here. I didn't follow my notes. Oh, no, basketball. Coach Kirashi, you were amazing. And it was, I will take the sticker out, so we'll do. You know what? This brings excitement to our council meeting, right? That's what we need, man, more excitement.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Good excitement.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Great.
Excellent.
Thank you, thank you.
I hope you've had a great time.
Thank you very much. I love you.
I dipped this down.
Okay, next is going to be Taekwondo, Genevieve Berquist. There you go. The next one is Nicolai Herrero. They won bronze. I was good. So thank you. And Coach Alex Kowalski. Great coach. Thank you for your time and coaching. Really appreciate it. There you go. All right. Thank you.
Okay. No big blink. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to do soccer, and that's 8 soccer players. It was really exciting. Sebastian Alfonso. Hey, how are you? Here you go. Great players. I loved it. It was so amazing. Nico Angelini. Nico, there you go. Owen Baltrano. There you go on. Christian Cabraja. There you go, Chris. Kobe King. Kobe. There you go, Kobe. Thanks. Emmanuel Oliveira. Emmanuel. Oh. You're okay, Emmanuel. There you go. And San Diego Ortega. San Diego. He was our goalie. I want to tell you, it was so exciting. They came fourth. They should have really won, but they did their best, and it was amazing. There you go.
That sounds fun.
It was fun. Okay, Muso Suarez. I hope I'm pronouncing them right. Musel. Your grandpa, right? No, he didn't. Okay, and the coach was Julio Garcia. What a coach! He kept everybody entertained. It was amazing. Thank you. Coming up. And we're going to take a picture all together. Let's squeeze in.
Can we, if we angle it?
Now, angle. Can we
Scooch in. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, maybe go from the top.
Get everybody in.
Yeah, go in front of
beautiful. Look at those kids. Wonderful. You guys are just
Young man and yeah.
You-
Perfect. Thank you for your help. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Good. Thank you.
Thank you. You can go over there. And lastly is going to be athletics. Now, today at Christie Park, there's a competition. So most of them are not here, just one. But I'll read their name. The Leslie Bear was the coach. There's Tori, Angela. I think Tori's here though. Tori. And Tori won bronze. So that's great. There you go, Tori. And there's also Jackson Orwin. We'll get them later. And Veronica Bear. And they're competing today, so they can't be here. So, all right, let's take a picture.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you.
Great. Now, if everybody can we take a whole picture together, or we stand there?
I think the clerk is
We-
going to...
We could, but can I say something, like, everybody gather together? Honestly, we're almost finished, and we'll go on to the business of the city hall. But this is so important, I think, for the city. So, everybody, we'll take a picture.
Can you switch that sheet a little bit out of the way? You switch it over here.
Okay, sure. All right. Mayor?
Don't worry, I've got a nice wide angle.
And,
Free to move
yeah.
right down.
I'll get down, get down.
Get everybody in. Taller people in the back.
Yeah, he's literally on there.
Okay, yeah. And, okay.
We are going now. The kiss is big deals.
In there? Okay, where we go? Where we go? Hold up. You have to be in the photo.
I'm understanding you have a lens that's going to be able to give us help.
I can get everybody in, yeah.
Get everybody in, and I was told we have to cheer, so they're going to put a reel together. Cheer. Okay.
1, 2, 3. Let's do a couple more. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Great.
And we're going to cheer now. 1.
1, 2, 3.
Yay! Thank you, everyone. And thank you, but as they're going up, I just want to say one more thing. We have Santiago Ortega. He's going to speak less than a minute to talk about his experience. And I think that's most important, not what I experienced, because, what they experienced. So, Santiago, can you please say if you just a minute, and it'd be great. Thank you.
I want to say good morning to Mayor Horwath. Good morning to all the councilors here, parents, visitors, and especially the athletes. This experience was one in a lifetime opportunity. We learned other countries' soccer, like Europe, even North America as well. I want to say a great thank you to Coach Julio. Wonderful coach he is. Taught us how to he taught us how to keep momentum going even when we're down, even when we're winning. He taught us that, and my teammates especially, they were great. We played, we went through ups and downs, and we got through it as a team together. I'm glad everyone got the opportunity, and especially thank you to the city of Hamilton. I hope in the future other kids can have this experience as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bravo. Okay, thank you.
How about one last round of applause? And thank you to the clerks. One last round of applause. And also for Councillor Pauls. I do want to also thank the clerks who helped us make sure that we were putting this together in a very seamless way, so thank you for that. We're now on to the regular parts of the minute. You're welcome to stay all day. Of the meeting, rather, regular parts of the meeting. You're welcome to stay all day, but don't be shy if you have other things to do. Thank you. As you're exiting the chamber, I just want to say once again, we really do extend our deepest congratulations to the athletes, the board, our coaches, parents, on behalf of the City of Hamilton. Congratulations. Good job. And obviously, lots of fun was had, which is the very important part. So as we move on to the agenda then, we're heading to the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting, which is 4.1, September 11th, 2024. May I have that motion to approve the minutes of the September 11th, 2024 meeting as presented? Moved by Councillor Francis, seconded by Councillor McMeekin. Any discussion on the minutes, folks? No, seeing none. We'll then go to the vote, and I'll be a minute, so I'll probably have to use my thumb. That carries 14-0. Thank you very much. Communications. Councillor Pauls, may I have the motion, please, on the communications items?
Yes, moved by myself, second by Councillor Beatty, that the council communication 5.1 to 5.9 be approved as presented as follows.
Okay, thanks very much. Any discussion on these communications items, folks? Yes, do we? Oh. I'll put this down too. Okay, I don't see any. Lisa, there's none, right? Okay, thank you very much. We'll go then to the vote on the communications items, please. That carries 15-0 as well. Thanks very much. Item 6 is, first we have to move into committee of the whole. So can I please have the motion, Councillor Pauls, to move into committee of the whole?
Okay, it's moved by myself, second by Councillor Beatty. The council move into the committee of the whole for consideration of the committee reports.
Thanks very much. Can we have that vote up, please, folks? And that carries 15-0. Thanks very much. We're now on to the committee reports. So Public Works Committee Report 24012, September 16th, 2024, item 6.1, Councillor Spadafora. May I, welcome Councillor Spadafora. May I please have the motion to receive and approve the recommendations within the Public Works Committee report?
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Vice Chair Alex Wilson, that the Public Works Committee Report 24-012, being the meeting held on Monday, September 16th, 2024, be received and the recommendation contained therein be approved.
Okay, thanks very much. Are there any items within this report that members would like to speak to, amend, or have voted on separately? Councillor Pauls, please.
Yes, item 4, Inch Park Inclusive Play. I'm so excited. I went to the Hamilton Baseball Challenge banquet. There had to be at least 400 or 500 people there. And it was so exciting when it was announced that Inch Park was going to be an inclusive park for all. The roar was unbelievable. Yay for the city of Hamilton. They thanked us. They thanked every councillor. And I just want to say that I even said that all councillors probably wanted to second that. And I thank Councillor Wilson, Maureen Wilson. And this park is going to be a destination for people to go and enjoy the park. And I'm so excited about that, and that it's going to start in October, and it'll probably finish by the end of the year. They're going to take a break at Christmas time and then continue. So I'm all excited about this, and so are the people that are looking forward to using it. So thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Pauls. Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Mayor Horvath. Good morning. Item 6, can I just have a separate vote on the transit maintenance and storage facility? I've been consistent opposed to it only because it's gone way over budget and the current overage is being borne at this time 100% by municipal taxpayers. So I just ask for a separate vote of it, please. Thank you.
Absolutely. I don't see any further speakers on the list, so perhaps we'll go to that item first then, which I believe is item 6. So if we could have the vote on the item 6 in the report, please, first. Oh, did it come? Okay. I took care of business early. That carries 12-3. Thanks very much, folks. We are now on to the balance of the report. So on the Public Works Committee report, 24-012, can we have the vote, please? Oh, Councillor Clark, sorry, there's a... Go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. On item 2, can I have staff speak to publicly how we ensure that the bidding process, when we're establishing an in-house bid team to bid on a project that the general contractors might be bidding on, how do we ensure fairness on that type of bidding process?
Not sure who would be, okay, GM Can, please.
Yep. Through the chair to the councillor, General Manager Carlisle Can. As contained in the report, we basically set up teams to bid on it, an internal team, and then a team to evaluate and administer the bids that come in and identify which one wins. There were guidelines that were set out in the MOU with the union with regards to the winning bid. Up to 10% above the lowest bid would be sufficient. In addition, we work with the procurement and legal to make sure that we create what they call the wall. So we make sure that information is kept confidential. We make sure that the management side doesn't have influence or speak to the bid team. And then working with the union executive and the bid team, they prepare their bid and they submit it in a seal envelope.
And can you speak to whether or not we're using a fairness monitor? It's quite common practice elsewhere.
Yes. Through the chair, that is correct. We have engaged with a fairness monitor and they are monitoring the entire process.
Thank you. I just felt it was important to put that in the public.
No, absolutely. Good point, Councillor Clark. Thank you, and thank you, GM Can. Don't see any further speakers then. So the Public Works Committee as a whole now report is before us. We'll go to the vote, please. And that carries 15-0. 6.2 is the Planning Committee Report 24-013, September 17th, 2024. Councillor Cassar, may I please have a motion to receive and approve the recommendations within the Planning Committee report?
Of course, Mayor Horvath. It's moved by me, seconded by First Vice Chair, Councillor Maureen Wilson, that Planning Committee Report 24-013, being the meeting held on Tuesday, September 17th, 2024, be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved.
Okay, thanks very much. So that's moved by Councillor Cassar, seconded by Councillor Maureen Wilson. I don't see any speakers yet. Councillor McMeekin, please.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. In the spirit of fairness and balance, I just want to speak, I actually don't want to speak, I want to read a letter, very short letter that I just received in response to a letter that was sent out to all council with respect to the Dundas Street project, which was a topic of hot debate, you may recall. And let me just read it because it is important to be read. It says, we were recently made aware of an email circulated by a neighbor to councillors and planning staff regarding an article in The Spectator about the proposed development. While we share concerns about the appropriateness of the comments made by Councillor Maureen Wilson at last week's meeting, we want to clarify that this email was not sent on behalf of the neighborhood group, nor do we support its content. The views expressed in that email reflect the personal opinions of Girth Martell and do not in any way reflect the opinions of the neighborhood as a whole.
Thanks, Councillor McMeekin, a clarifier there. I don't see anybody else wanting to speak to this report, so I do have a motion. I believe it's been circulated. So can I, is that not on the planning and? Okay, that's where it was in my roadmap, kind of. So we put that motion at the end, in the motions? Oh, GIC, it was GIC. Okay, so that was misfiled, that's fine, no problem. Okay, I don't see any other, no, I don't see any other speakers on this particular report, so I will ask for the vote to come up, please. This is for the Planning Committee report. That carries 15-0. Thanks very much. We are now on to 6.3, the General Issues Committee report. Newsflash, I have a motion on this one. General Issues Committee report 24-015, September 18th, 2024. Councillor Pauls, may I please have a motion to receive and approve the recommendations within the General Issues Committee report?
I will, Mayor. It's moved by myself, second by Councillor Beatty, that council move into committee of the whole for consideration of the committee.
Oh, no, this is the moving of the General Issues Committee report.
Oh, okay, this one.
For consideration.
Okay, sorry.
That's
All
okay,
right.
no problem.
Moved by myself, second by Council Beatty, the General Issue Committee report being the meeting held Wednesday, September 18, 2024, be received and the recommendation contained therein be approved.
Thanks very much, Councillor Pauls. Let's see, I don't see any speakers. Oh, Councillor Jackson, please. Or is that from the previous one? That's from this one? Please go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm just looking for item 2, the reducing homelessness, managing encampments. I'll be asking at the appropriate time for separate votes as I did last week, just to be consistent at GIC. And when you're ready for that, I'll tell you how I would hope to consistently bundle it as we did last week at GIC, which I think overall helped us get through the item. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Kretsch, please.
On the same item, just had a couple of questions for staff, if I could ask them. That's okay now. These are questions I asked in advance, just so you're aware. Just wanted to give staff a chance to say these things publicly. I don't think we had this discussion last week, and certainly I know people have been reaching out since the plans were approved at GIC, asking questions like, what's next? When are we going to start seeing something happening? Questions like, how does the 1 kilometer radius rule really work? How do we prioritize encampments that might appear in that area? These kinds of things. I just want to give staff an opportunity to speak to that specifically, because I think the information they shared with me was very useful to understand the timeline going forward and about these kinds of particular details and what we should expect. So whomever can answer
Thanks, Councillor Kretsch. I think GM Mader would be the responder, so please go ahead, General Manager Mader.
Good morning, Grace Mader, General Manager, Healthy and Safe Communities, through the chair to the councillor. Thanks for the opportunity. And I also have Rob Mastrani, the manager. I won't get his title right, so I'll let him do that when he introduces himself, and Danielle Blake to help me out with this. So yes, we were able to have an opportunity to talk with the councillor prior to today, and so it gives us an opportunity to clarify some of this. Up until the report, when it was submitted last week, it was all about the planning phase, and that we were focused on that. Now, if ratified today, we will move on to the implementation phase, and then after that, we would have a monitoring phase. So part of that implementation will be to put into effect all of the items that were approved, hopefully approved in the report as we move forward. We know that there's still a lot of work to be done, and as I mentioned last week, that we were at step 1, and now comes the real work. We want to be able to reach out with an engagement process for the community around the locations. We also will be looking at all of the components that need to go into this when we talk about that 1 kilometer radius. Included in that kilometer, we mentioned a couple of the parks that are impacted, but that would also be inclusive of those non-compliant location and other green spaces that also will be impacted by that radius, and that we will work with our partners. I think this also gives me the opportunity to clarify too that that radius and the non-compliance of those locations will come into effect when this location opens. Once it becomes operational, then we will be looking at enforcement and compliance at those other locations. I hope that answers your question, Councillor.
Councillor Cratch?
Yeah, primarily it does. I briefly follow up to say I think that we'd also talked about how that transition is going to work. So I think there's an expectation from some that A, once we approve this today, magically everything will suddenly happen, and B, that there's there's not going to necessarily be a transition between these two things, right? So you might set up some temporary outdoor shelters, but then you're going to have to work with folks in the community. There's going to be a lot of movement happening, and so if you could speak to maybe that whole process, I don't think people can understand how massive of a undertaking this will be.
Through the chair, I'm going to ask Danielle Blake to answer that.
Thank you, Councillor, for that. Through the chair, yes. So once the temporary outdoor space does open, it's not as if we can move every person into that space overnight. We will initiate that process very soon in terms of having preliminary conversations with the folks that are living outside, finding out what their needs are, what their interests are, that kind of thing. But until we actually have spaces to move them into, we can't physically start that movement. So even once the space does open, there will be quite a process of getting people signed up, getting the applications completed, getting people physically moved, and so on and so forth. So we anticipate it'll take some time after the opening to actually achieve the compliance in those parks.
Thanks. And lastly, I'll just say something that was shared with me is that there's going to be reports for this. I know this was said at the last meeting, but really want to emphasize this. There are monthly reports that come out every month to GIC from the encampment folks. They're managing that, and weekly reports, by the way, in case you've never seen those. But the monthly reports, there's going to be a section in those reports that details what the progress is and how things are moving along, so people can follow from the community. People here can follow along, so you have questions from folks, you can get answers there. I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Cratch. I have 3 more speakers, and I just want to make sure that we're going to be on the same topic. So we have Councillor Clark, Councillor Nan, Councillor Cassar. We're still on this topic in that order. So Councillor Clark, please go ahead.
So specifically to item 2, not necessarily the policy side, but more of the implementation side. The first question that I have that has come up to me is, what's the process going to be to secure these outdoor buildings, these modular buildings? There are providers in Canada, there are providers in the United States. How are we going about securing those units?
Through the chair, Danielle Blake, Manager of Housing Focus Street Outreach. So through that report, through this report, we are requesting to single source the provider of the units, both out of a sense of immediate need. We need to be able to make a decision on sourcing those units immediately. We also have done a great deal of research in terms of cost effectiveness and other things that would inform our decision. So we will be asking through this report for a single sourcing of those units.
And can you speak to how we ensure value for dollars? How do we ensure that we're getting the best price if we're sole sourcing this?
Through the chair, that's been part of the research that we've been undertaking over the last several weeks, working on what is the best value, and as Danielle said, that what is it that's going to best meet our needs, and we feel that we've been able to, in one of the reports, I think it was Appendix A, just talked about what some of those requirements that we want to look at when we've been working with the different providers to ensure just that, Councillor.
Thank you. On another tangent, I had asked this at general issues, and I'm still nervous about it. I support what the mayor has done and this overall motion, but my concern continues to be that Barton Tiffany has been identified as contaminated lands. And I'm concerned because I understand that the groundwater flows from the south down towards the harbor. And I want to ensure that the soil that these folks are going to have their units on, they're not being exposed to anything unintentionally. So what's the bed going to be that you're putting the units on? Are we putting down loads of gravel to ensure, no mud in the winter, but also to separate people away from those contaminants? And how are we ensuring that volatile organic compounds are not off-gassing and causing issues for those residents?
Thanks, Councillor Clark. Appreciate that. I think we'll go to GM Mader and then maybe GM Robichaud.
Through the chair to the councillor, that will be part of our planning process, Councillor Clark, just to ensure that we are not putting anyone at risk. And we'll work with GM Robichaud's team to ensure that we're addressing those issues as we develop the plans.
Did you want a response from GM Robichaud as well?
Yes, please.
Please go ahead.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to the councillor, further on the comments, that planning staff have also identified that same concern in terms of the suitability of the locations for temporary housing, and what does temporary housing mean, and then what are the opportunities then to mitigate or avoid any risk. As I previously indicated, some portions of the Barton Tiffany area were previously used as residential dwellings up until the time the city acquired it, and then the city demolished those buildings. So that area may be the first areas to look at. There's a stretch along Barton Street, and I believe there's a stretch along Tiffany that were where the houses were previously located, and that may be the logical first places to consider. We do have significant background information that was previously done when the site was being considered for a stadium or other uses, and that'll also help to inform the decision-making from a risk management perspective. But as we indicated, there will probably be a need to put some sort of barrier between the dwelling units and the current ground, even on the former residential sites, whether that be gravel or other materials have to be brought in. Part of it is to level the site and create a suitable environment for somebody to have a temporary dwelling located on, as well as to look at it from a risk management mitigation measure as well. And I anticipate we may have some further conversations with MOECP, any guidance that they may offer as we deal with this, or the need to bring in any external consultants with expertise from a risk management perspective. Thank you.
So, Mayor, hearing all that, it makes complete sense to me, but I don't see that in the motion. I don't see anywhere where it indicates that we're going to do soil sampling or we're creating barriers. There has to be something in this motion for my assurance that we are minimizing the risk of residents being exposed to any contaminants on that property. And I'll leave it there, and perhaps after we hear the rest of the debate, we might have something in there that we can add that would provide some ease for my conscience and very clearly provide that safety measure for the residents. We don't want to put them in harm's way by an accident. We want to make sure that everything's right.
Understood.
Thank you.
And I think the staff are understanding your request, lots of head nods, and so I don't know if you want to try to put something together and work electronically with them and the clerks, and we'll get back to that.
I appreciate that,
All right,
Mayor. Thank you
absolutely,
so
no
much.
problem at all. Okay, so we now have Councillor Nam. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, appreciating staff's clarification of colleagues' questions, especially the piece around timeline and process for implementation. I just wanted to raise to my colleagues and the viewing public and to staff that when looking at the portion of the recommendations that speak to the indoor shelters, 138 of 192 indoor expanded shelter beds will be provided by shelter system partners in Ward 3, of which 123 are within a 4-block area of themselves. And I wanted to build on the merits of this plan and see it applied as thoroughly as possible. So I do have a couple of questions for staff. In the report recommendations that GIC approved, it states that no encampment will be permitted within 1 kilometer of the site to prevent further concentration of encampments near to this fully supported site, naming Bayfront, Pier 4, and Central Parks to be removed as permitted encampment locations under the encampment protocol. So I was wondering if through you, if staff could please clarify the basis for the 1 kilometer distance recommendation, both from the lens of supporting the population that will eventually use the Barton Tiffany outdoor shelter and otherwise.
Thanks. Gia Mader, please.
Through the chair to the councillor, it's exactly as we indicated in the report, was about the concern about over-intensification. And I know that part of what on the go-forward planning is that we had been discussing is about the need for us to look at that across the board for those intensification locations. And just as you've indicated, your area has absolutely going to be having the lion's share of those new spaces. It will give us the opportunity, and as we'd indicated all along, to look at the protocol, have a review of it, and be able to report back on possible alterations to that as we move forward with this expansion of the system.
Thank you. And so I appreciate, Mayor, that Gia Mader and the team that have been supporting her understand that the 123 out of the 138 are all within a 4-block radius. And most close in proximity to those are Bishop's Park, which is the smallest little green parkette available to the Stinson community that otherwise has a deficit of green spaces, especially for renters. And these are otherwise densely populated neighborhoods that don't have a lot of respite. And they are desperate to get that green space back to their community, and also at the same time understand from a lens of care that folks need to be served in the most adequate way possible in terms of the situation that they're facing. The other park is J.C. Beamer / Tweedsmuir, and it's had its share of challenges. And again, the same sentiment there as well. It is a critical area that provides, soupy programming during the summer, which we've had to cancel 2 summers in a row, in an area that is otherwise challenged by social determinants of health, and our recreation program isn't able to care for and provide the supports and services that the children in that neighborhood need. And then we also have Myrtle Park as well. So I was wondering through you to staff, I really appreciate the go-forward planning and the need to look at those intensification locations, but I'm wondering if it might be possible to get something sooner than that for these 3 parks, and also any other recommended green spaces from staff, same lens that they applied around avoiding that overconcentration in that 1 kilometer area, specific to the 123 beds that will be shared between the Mission Services location on King Street, the, again, former Cathedral Boys School being operated by Good Shepherd as a shelter space, and then the expanded beds for Wesley.
Thanks, Councillor Nan. Gia Mader?
Through the chair, absolutely, Councillor. I think the Danielle and her team have already started to undertake that work to look at what the implications are and the impacted areas. So we'll be able to report back. We can come back in October as we're working through our process with a report on that.
Thank you. And then through you, Mayor, any clarity needed in terms of direction from council to do that? So it sounds like the work is already underway.
Sounds like it's underway.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Councillor Nan. Thanks, Gia Mader. Councillor Kassar, please.
Thanks, Mayor Horwath. I just had some comments on the topic,
Sure,
if that's
please
okay,
go
on
ahead.
item 2. Clearly, this is a very emotional topic. There's a lot of people across the city, including those around this horseshoe, that are invested in homelessness and housing and how to solve it. And we can feel many things at the same time. And I know that people around the community do. You can have your heart break for the unhoused and desperately want someone to help them. You can feel unsafe around an encampment site. You can feel protective about your children and safety in parks. You can be uncomfortable about spending property tax dollars when upper levels of government should be providing funding solutions. And you can also be frustrated that the city solution doesn't solve the entire encampment issue today with what we're hopefully approving today. But what we all agree on is that we don't want people in parks to have to live in parks. We want to see them housed. And of course, parks need to be safe and enjoyable for Hamiltonians and people from beyond our city who are coming to visit. So you can feel all those things, some of them, all of them, they're all valid. I just want to make sure people understand, it is okay to feel many different things and you can be conflicted. And as was touched on at GIC, the encampment protocol was designed to manage, as a first step, an unprecedented crisis. It's not the reason that people are living in tents in parks. The alternative was an enforcement strategy that would chase people around from spot to spot, wasting enforcement resources and making it much more difficult to assist them. And even Police Chief Bergen has been on record recently saying we can't enforce our way out of this situation. So we had to do something. So now we have a plan to begin tackling the short-term elements of this crisis, 192 indoor shelter beds, 80 outdoor shelter beds. It wasn't a unanimous decision at GIC to approve this, so I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. Hopefully, we could get to a unanimous decision, because as was pointed out in the deliberations last week, it would be very powerful if we did. So 2 reasons I heard. Implementing this recommendation would not immediately end the encampment protocol. I mean, this is a huge and complex issue. It's been decades in the making, and I don't think we should expect to solve it in one fell swoop. This is a big step, but it's not entirely solving everything all at once. So I don't think it's reasonable to expect that because this first step isn't solving it, that it shouldn't be supported. It was also highlighted several times, Mayor, as you recall, the legal challenge against the city and the limitation that puts on us. So the path here, morally, operationally, legally, is to create housing as fast as we can in a temporary format, is what we're talking about here. The second thing I heard was that additional shelter beds would attract additional unhoused people from other cities. I mean, GM Mader was asked about that and pointed out that the numbers have been steady with a predictable band. The number of unhoused people in Hamilton is within that band. We know that there are no borders at the city. We don't stop people from coming and going. That is not Canada. And the biggest challenge I have is saying no to something that's really good for Hamilton, and it's a necessary step here, because we may see people come from other parts of the province. It's kind of cutting off your nose to spite your face, to use an old expression. So I think it's important that we do proceed here and hopefully get unanimity. I guess I would also point out that the Premier has actually supported this plan and what Hamilton is doing. So it would be really powerful if Council was unanimous and that we move forward in taking this important step. So thank you, Mayor Horwath.
Thanks, Councillor Cassar. Councillor McMeekin, please.
Yes, thanks, Your Worship, and thanks for the comments to this point. I find Councillor Cassar most often to be clear and incisive in his analysis, and I think today was another good example of that. So thank you, Councillor, for that. At the outset, I just want to make some general comments, observations. I want to say first and foremost that I agree to support and do support the protocol as suggested. I'm pleased that after almost 2 years of advocacy by a locally based community-driven group with all kinds of interest and heart in trying to help out, that we finally arrived at the concept of the larger sanctioned communities in our community with support services. I think on this issue, you may recall that we talked about the importance of engagement. There are a lot of citizens that want to help out. Madam Mayor, you and I both know that as a community, we have more people who want to volunteer to help on most issues than we can count. And I hope that as we proceed, we look at that seriously. I know there are groups like places like Mohawk College, who at one point, I don't know the history of this entirely anymore, it's been so long, were willing to park their vocational van on various sites to assist people who may want help in acquiring skills to work. I noticed the Premier had a lot to say about that as well in his most recent utterances. The whole idea of protocols, I'm assuming that that's going to be handled directly. It occurs to me that the most obvious one is is when a drug dealer shows up at a site and there's going to be a police cruiser 90 seconds behind. And that's really, really important in terms of where we're heading. And not just police, but EMS. I know that there have been some concerns that when there's a reported potential overdose, it sometimes takes far too long to even locate the encampment that they're trying to respond to, and this should serve well there. I'm interested specifically, and I'll put this, I've mentioned partnerships, engagement, protocols. Some others have mentioned dangers, and they're obvious from what Councillor Clark has raised in terms of being proactive around that. I'm interested specifically in what services do we anticipate being made available to these communities. I suspect there'll be at least 2, maybe 3, depending on how we apportion the 80. But what services are anticipated to be directly provided? The assumption being that when you move a bunch of people who, by the way, when HATS did this study interviewed 100 homeless people and asked them about the cabin concept, and I was part of that many, many moons ago, over 90% said they liked that concept. So that's augurs well for where we're heading. That doesn't head off some potential challenges, but nonetheless. So I'm interested specifically in what services will be provided or are anticipated to be provided, how that will be organized, and that's, to me, Your Worship, that's the single most important issue that we face. We've got mental health challenges, we've got other challenges. So I pose that as a question.
Sure, thank you for that, Councillor McMeekin. We'll ask GM Mader to respond.
Through the chair, and we totally agree, Councillor McMeekin, that the services and the supports are the most important. And you'll recall last week in council chambers, we had the benefit of a lot of our community providers that had reached out and want to be part of the solution, and and already provide service out in the community. And our hope is that we're going to bring that in a more coordinated fashion so we can have a more effective and efficient when it comes to those services. So I'll ask Danielle just to explain some of the specifics on what those services will be.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair. So we've had preliminary discussions with a number of our current community service providers, including St. Joe's in terms of mental health supports. We have a very exciting partnership with Hamilton Paramedics that we've already initiated in terms of providing things like wound care and vaccinations and various things like that. We have also had discussions with a number of other community partners that currently have outreach services that are mobile vans and things like that go out to the sites and provide a variety of services. Of course, our partnerships with Hamilton Police, their rapid intervention RIST, whatever that stands for, sorry, it escapes me at the moment, and their social navigator programs. And so, yeah, we feel like there is a real wealth of supports and services out there that already provide these types of services to encampments. So I think that there's a real opportunity to coordinate those, as Grace had mentioned, and to ensure that that we have a schedule that people know what services are there and at what time, and to ensure that there's not a duplication and that we cover any gaps in service.
Thanks very much. You want to wrap up on this one, Councillor McMeekin?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Two quick points. The experience in Kitchener on both the cabin sites is having a live-in person on site is really pivotal. The other concern I have, and I just mentioned it, is I would be cautious about a single source in terms of looking at the cabin setup. There have been all kinds of groups around the city, some labor unions, some very large labor unions, high school teachers. There's a couple of other private providers who ought to be considered in that mix.
Thanks, Councillor McMeekin. Thank you so much. We will now go to Councillor Spatafora. And just so folks know, we have Councillor Spatafora, Councillor Francis, Councillor Clark, which I believe will probably be to put your motion, Councillor Clark, Councillor Jackson, and as folks know, I also have an amending motion that I circulated. So we'll go to now then Councillor Spatafora. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll try not to, I think it's bite off my nose or something like that, but many of the comments that were made, I think I was definitely one of the people that we're referring to. And I'm good with that. Ward 14, Councillor Mike Spatafora. I'm fine and dandy. I'm glad everyone all of a sudden has become a big fan of Premier Ford. It's fantastic. My vote will not change today. Spending taxpayer money may not be a concern, but I'm glad that we approve that they can feel the frustration they're feeling. We do have boundaries, residential boundaries, borders, call them what you want, change the name, residential boundaries. We do have them. Hamilton taxpayer money needs to be spent to benefit Hamilton residents. So I don't think any of my comments in regards to ensuring or not supporting money being spent on people who don't live in our city, again, if it's money from the provincial or federal government, spend away. That's their job, not our job. Not our job, not Hamilton taxpayers' job to bail out the federal and provincial government and all the municipalities that are unwilling. Put a shelter in your municipality. Burlington, Oakville, put a shelter there. Beamsville, Grimsby, go use your taxpayer money, put an outdoor shelter, put a shelter to house asylum seekers, refugees, all important stuff. I agree, 100%. All important stuff, but not important enough to have it only done on the backs of Hamiltonians. So federal government, step up. And I know people say, well, they do. Asylum seekers, they gave us money. GM Mater said, we pay 25% of that cost. That's not stepping up. Stepping up is 100% plus. That's what I consider stepping up. Provincial government, step up. The both you combined gave $60 million in 2024. We're going to spend close to $150 million. And all we're going to say is, residents, you can feel frustrated about that. $150 million? Let that number sink in your head. $150 million when the federal and provincial government combined spent, I don't even know if they made it to 60 million. I think the number's 57. So at the end of the day, surrounding municipalities, build an outdoor shelter, build shelter spaces, spend your taxpayers' money. Because if we seriously are going to sit around this table and think that people from outside this city that are unhoused, because they're down on their luck, because they choose to be, because they have addiction issues, because they have mental health issues, they come to this city because we have the services their city's unwilling to provide. And it's on the backs of our residents. So I will not change my vote. I will support the shelter beds because I think that's important. But again, 60% of our shelters right now are full of asylum seekers, refugees, new Canadians. And that was not the reason. We need the shelter beds for the unhoused Hamiltonians so they can go in there and the province can give their wraparound service so we can get people the help that they need. But it can't be on the backs of our residents because we're going to be putting our residents out on the street at the same time. So I apologize if I bit my nose and spite myself or whatever the comment people want to use, but I won't be changing my vote today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spatafora. Councillor Francis, please.
And thank you, Mayor Horwath. I also won't be changing my vote, and I echo a lot of the same things that Councillor Spatafora has said here. And my concern is that as we raise people's taxes every year, we're sending more people into the streets. I see the people in my very community being pushed into poverty directly because of high taxes. And absolutely, having people come from other cities because we invite them here, that's an issue. And that's why you don't see the same issues in Burlington or in Oakville. And we're trying to solve the problem for every surrounding municipality, as Councillor Spatafora said, on the backs of Hamilton taxpayers in our city, with the people here that are already struggling and on the brink of losing their own homes, our residents. And I know some other councillors here may not experience low-income residents and fixed-income seniors in their wards, but that's a reality in my ward, and I'm always going to fight for them. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Francis. Councillor Pauls, please.
Thank you. I just want to share that on last Wednesday, I asked one question, and I don't think it was answered. And my question was, how many of the tents, and these are tents that are outside, the 300, the people, our residents, look at every day, that look at our parks, how many of those are really financially strapped and they were renovated, they were kicked out of the apartment? How many of them? Because if we divide how many are just for financial, I am sure, I heard great news with Victoria Park community. They're going to build all kinds of affordable housing. I think we have to divide and see how many of them are for drug addiction or mental. We have to divide and know what. And I don't think I had the answer. We don't know. And that's what people are saying. When they are afraid to go to their parks because they see needles, because they see, things, garbage everywhere. That's what people are asking me. Those are the people that say, please come to my park and look. Those are the answers they want to know. If it is just housing, I think we could find places, if it's just housing for those that are financially. And I did not get an answer. So in that saying, I want to say that when Pete Weisner spoke, he said something about sanctioned places good if we have them there, but we have to make sure there's no drugs or all those things. And I read the low barrier, and I was taken back of the low barrier where we say, oh, you're welcome here, bring your drugs, bring whatever, we're going to make it lenient for you. I think that's what people are calling me about. We need, I believe, the government, we need to write to Mr. Ford to say, give us money for hospitals, places where they can recover. And we have a Wayside that's trying to open new beds for people for recovery. And I think we're not talking about that. We're talking about housing first. And I think we're missing the point. So I just want to ask, do we have, out of the 300 people where they are strapped because they can't afford $1,500, we could subsidize, we could get people to say, I have an empty basement. We could if it was just housing. Do we have, of the tents, of the people living outside?
Thanks, Councillor Pauls. I'm going to start with GM Mader, and she'll probably, she may ask her team to also fill in some information. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. Through the chair to the councillor. So I will defer the concrete details on the numbers and that, and we'll do our best to answer that. I think it's important to also understand, too, though, that we have also maintained the need for supports that go along with the challenges for those people that are currently living in tents or, in a variety of ways on the streets. We know that it is not just about housing, and we've mentioned that numerous times. This is not just about a direct path to an apartment, because in order for people to maintain those apartments, they do need supports 24/7 for them to be successful. We have indicated that and advocated to that, and I know the mayor has pushed this forward to numerous parties about the need for investment for the province, particularly on supportive housing to address that very issue. So with that, I'll ask Danielle to talk about some of the breakdown, because we do keep information about those individuals as we know them and as her team interacts with them.
Please go ahead, Manager Blake.
Thank you. Through the chair to the councillor. I'm glad I have this opportunity to just clarify a couple of things about the plans for the temporary outdoor shelter. One of the things I did want to clarify is that low barrier options do serve the harder to serve or the more high acuity individuals that you're referring to. So folks that have multiple barriers such as addictions, mental health, things like that. Providing a low barrier option does not it may appear on the outset to be permissive, but in fact what it is a way of opening a door to someone receiving services. So it's a way of ensuring that someone has a place to be while staff who are on site and supports that are on site work with that individual to address the barriers that they have. So we would be looking to use our outreach team and the assessments that they utilize already to ensure that the spaces in that outdoor space that is low barrier go to people who would most benefit from it. And then on the flip side of that, we would also be utilizing the team and their knowledge of the folks that are outside to hopefully connect other folks with more direct housing options and to put them through other like housing first programs and things that are available through our coordinated access system. And I'll just see if, I don't know if Rob has anything to add on that piece.
Rob Mastriani, Manager of Homelessness and Housing Support. So to Danielle's comment, I think a little bit of what you're referring to is kind of how our, sorry, I believe a little bit of what you're referring to is how our system is already set up to function. So we do have a number of programs that operate within the homelessness system, such as rapid rehousing programs and intensive case management supports. So through the assessment that is completed with individuals, that's where we look at, whether or not it is solely a financial issue that has led to their experience of homelessness. And where there's other layers that may be contributing there. So we would use that assessment to try to refer those individuals to the appropriate level of service. So if it is something that is solely financial, that could be something that goes to a rapid rehousing program because it's linking to things like rent supplements or housing allowances, and that could result in a quicker exit out of their experience of homelessness into a stable housing situation. So in terms of the numbers, I can't right now necessarily speak to the numbers of out of the 300, X number is solely financial compared to others that are also experiencing mental health and addictions. I'd say fairly confidently there is a financial issue with most of them. I don't want to say everybody. But our program is set up in order to refer people and assess based on what those different categories are or those different factors are that are impacting that, and to be able to try to support people to exit into the most appropriate supports and out of that system into permanent housing.
Thank you for that, and I appreciate it. I just think, the province and the federal, we need help from them. Absolutely. It's not all up to our city to take this big load. So thank you for the answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pauls. Councillor, okay, so I'm just going to socialize what's coming next with folks. So Councillor Clark has his amendment. Councillor Jackson's on for a second time, and Councillor Cretch is on for a second time. And of course, I have the amendment that we circulated on the funding ask. So I'm in your hands. My suggestion was to go now to Councillor Clark, who had a amendment, and then go on to the other second time speakers. Actually, no, that's not, well, that's what I was going to do. Have you put your amendment, then me put my amendment, and then continue with the second speakers, but I'm happy to change that process. I'm looking to the clerk.
We can certainly continue with that, Mayor. The amendment, I believe, would be fairly straightforward. There can be discussion on it if need be, and we can return to those second speakers once that's been dealt with.
Okay. So then thank you so much. I'm going to ask Councillor Clark then to put his amendment based on the concerns that he raised a little earlier about clarity around contamination. Please go ahead, Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. And just to be clear, if we can put it on the screen, that would be most helpful. I think it's supportable the way it is. After we deal with this amendment, can you put me on for a second time? I would like to speak to the overall motion, and I have not done that as of yet. The motion reads that staff be directed to ensure appropriate mitigation measures are in place to ensure the protection of residents using the temporary outdoor shelter site from any contamination present. So that really gives staff some leeway. Look at sampling, look at what kind of barriers you're going to put down. If you need a barrier, you may not need one, depending on what the soil looks like there. And I'll leave it at that. And if we could get a second, Councillor Kretsch is willing to second it. Thank you, sir. And I don't need to speak further to the amendment, Mayor.
Okay, thank you so much, Councillor Clark. The amendment is on the screen. Oh, is that not it? That's yours. Oh, that's mine. Likewise, when I see it, I'm sure it will be. Okay, there we go. Item 2 of the General Issues Committee report. Do you want to read it out yourself, Councillor Clark?
Thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Kretsch that staff be directed to ensure appropriate mitigation measures are in place to ensure the protection of residents using the temporary outdoor shelter site from any contamination present.
Okay. So that's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this particular amendment then? No? Okay, I don't see any. Oh, Councillor Maureen Wilson? No. Okay, not on the amendment. Okay, so could we just get that off of the table then and have that vote up? Thank you. Thanks, that carries 15-0. I'm now going to hand the chair over to Councillor Pauls, and I'm going to put my amendment, which you've all seen, and it's being seconded by Councillor Nan. And it basically, it's in front of everyone, right? Oh, sorry,
Yes,
go
can
ahead.
do you want me to read your amendment? It just says Mayor Horwath has an amendment on item 2 respecting reducing homelessness and managing encampments, and it's citywide. Mayor, please introduce your amendment.
Thanks very much, Councillor Pauls, Deputy Mayor. I've sent this around to everyone because I was hearing a lot of concern, and we've heard it again today, and rightfully so, about the issue of where these kinds of programs belong in terms of funding. So what it does is it asks staff to it says staff be directed to actively prepare and pursue funding from the $250 million encampment fund announced in the recent federal budget as soon as it becomes available for all capital and program costs associated with the City of Hamilton Shelter and Encampment Management Strategy. And H, that staff be directed to collaborate with the appropriate federal and provincial ministries to pursue cost recovery of municipal investments in homelessness responses, including our recently approved plan for indoor and outdoor shelter expansion and encampment management, wraparound services, staffing, et cetera. And so this is to cover both the, if I may continue with a few remarks, Councillor Pauls?
Sure, oh, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. This is to try to make sure we're vigorously going after those dollars because I think we all have a similar concern about where these funds are landing, and they do not belong on the property tax base. I know a number of councillors have said that many times over. The federal and provincial governments have talked about the fact that they need to be at the table, but but we're not seeing the money flow. And so for your information, we're engaging a number of community leaders to try to help us to push the federal and provincial governments to respond to Hamilton specifically, Hamilton's needs. And so that's maybe why the Premier shouted us out yesterday when he was in Port Colborne, because as I've mentioned to you many times before, I'm always trying to text or call and talk to the ministers because that's my job, to advocate for the city of Hamilton with the other orders of government. And this, I think it's a good thing that we were on the top of the Premier's mind when he was kind of in the overall region. But that's not good enough, right? We need the dollars to flow. So this is a part of that effort. I'm hoping for your support. The way it's written, I think, includes some of the issues that were raised today, particularly around pieces that we're already picking up, I think 20% of actually, which is the newcomer and refugee piece, or asylum seeker and refugee piece. Why are we paying 20% of that? Toronto's not paying 20%. They're fully covered. So there's an inequity around how these governments actually partner with municipalities as well. And I'm just going to end by saying this is something that exists in all cities and now most towns as well in Ontario and across Canada. And so at AMO and at FCM, these issues were top of mind. And that's why at AMO very recently we put together, the big city mayors put together the Solve the Crisis campaign, solvethecrisis.ca, which was mentioned yesterday by Greg Dennett, the Chamber of Commerce CEO, in his remarks, because they've signed on to support us in this effort. So my point is, we're doing what we need to do as elected folks here at the council table. Our staff are being directed to kind of amplify that work. We're engaging leaders in our community, including the business community. I know that there are providers of services throughout the community who are watching things get more difficult and more, and acuity levels skyrocket, and they're feeling very, very worried about their capacity and their capacity of their staff to continue to provide services. And I'm just going to end with one last thing, because I think it's important to note. In the Premier's speech at AMO, he made a quip about the fact that he hasn't raised taxes. And this speaks to Councillor Spatafora's motion, or remarks. And a lot of us looked at each other sitting in the galleries and watching that speech come, live, and said, well, you're not raising taxes, but we have to, because we are taking on responsibilities that don't belong on the municipal tax base. They belong with the higher orders of government, who have much more capacity in terms of their revenue streams to address these very, very difficult challenges. And so on that note, hoping for your support. I hope I didn't go too far over. I'm sorry if I did.
No problem.
And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Before we take the vote, is there any other discussion on the amendment? Councillor Nan.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Mayor, for bringing forward the amendment. I mentioned it last Wednesday while we were reviewing the GIC report in terms of that $250 million pot that the federal government allocated in the 2024 federal budget. And it just, now I appreciate the olive branch and the highly collaborative approach you have to take as the mayor in speaking with other levels of government. Because it's important to do so. But I can't help but consistently feel frustrated by the fact that the federal government had announced this as part of their budget, and there still is no tangible plan of implementing and giving municipalities the assurances we need about cost coverage this year. These are funds that are supposed to be allocated in 2024. Our city staff have done everything possible to scale up solutions that we can literally, in this moment, have a grant-ready program to submit to the federal government. And it remains frustrating. FCM is really pushing right now aggressively, and it will be part of our lobby efforts in later this year when we go to meet with each of the ministers. But the need for the details, the need for the tangible action, the need for predictability for municipalities around their federal budget announcement so that we can actually take care of what needs to be done in terms of this growing crisis and do it in a timely manner with winter that's right around the corner. So happy to second this motion, amending the direction to staff to see what we can offset in terms of the costs on currently being borne by reserves, and get it into the right order of government to cover the costs that are within their purview. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Nan. I think GM Mater had a bit of a clarification on particularly the federal fund. I'm not sure if that's what you were.
Yeah, just through the mayor to the councillor, just on the $250 million that we really appreciate the push on. We have heard that the federal government, the representatives have reached out to the province because the intent is these to be cost shared by the province. We don't know what the portion of dollars or allocation of dollars are for Ontario. We'd imagine it would be a substantial chunk, but the province does have to cost match it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on the amendment?
Councillor McMeekin.
Councillor McMeekin, please.
Yes, thanks, Deputy Mayor, and thank you, Your Worship, for once again, your leadership on this. You mentioned in your speech the other day the clarion call to all of our quiet partners out in the community to pick up the phone and call people that they know. I thought that was very appropriate. We have some very strong people in town who motivated the right way can do that. I think a couple points. Federal government currently funds 2 cabin communities in northern Manitoba completely, as I understand it from the research I've been doing. And on numerous occasions, they've talked about partnership, including perhaps as a barrier, the provincial matching kind of component that can always be a problem if 2 senior levels of government are different from each other. But I think given the recent developments and that we're in an ideal position to help both senior levels of government develop a plan. The feds, because they've done this in another province and did so based on some review, and the Premier, because in a moment of thoughtfulness, he has said some positive things. I think we begin by expressing a big thank you to the Premier. Thank you for getting it. Thank you for your commitment. Thank you for the affirmation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And by the way, you know, the promise with signing the housing contract was you do that and you do it well and you'll be rewarded, right? Well, the same here. This is the other part of our strategy. The housing and delivery of housing units is one part. The whole issue of dealing with unhoused people and the relationship between the two is important. So sometimes an ounce of honey is worth a pound of whatever. And so with your persuasive abilities, Madam Mayor, beginning with a big hug and a big thank you, and I think, you know, a clarion call to get the 2 levels of government working together around a very constructive plan that's been 2 years in the making and is now about to be launched. I have every reason to believe that that will be successful, and urge you to take that, and all of us to take that approach.
Thank you. Anybody else on the amendment? I don't see anyone else, so we're going to indicate your vote now on the amendment. And Mayor, you can take the chair. It was 15-0. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Pauls. and I'm sorry I didn't really quite remove myself from the chair appropriately all the way along, so I apologize to you for that.
No problem.
So I appreciate the support, folks, and now as per the request, I'll go back to the folks that wanted to, the members of council that wanted to speak again as a second time to this matter. And so if I can ask for that list to come back up, it would be helpful.
You can start with Councillor Jackson.
Starting with Councillor Jackson, and then Councillor Kretsch, and then Councillor Clark. So Councillor Maureen Wilson is, for a first time. Sorry, Councillor Maureen Wilson for a first time.
Thanks, Mayor Horwath. Really been torn with whether to speak to these matters or not, but I am compelled to do so. I think two things can be true at the same time. When I think about cities, I necessarily think about the person. And we know that when people have pre-existing health conditions, they're more vulnerable to stress and to harm. And with respect to Hamilton, that has been our case for some time. When Premier Mike Harris downloaded public housing onto property taxpayers, the very municipalities that my colleague, Councillor Spadafora, referred to, they did get together and they formed something called the Greater Toronto Services Board. And one of the things those municipalities took on was they were going to pool their resources in response to this downloading, because they knew it had the potential of crippling property taxpayers. Well, that didn't last very long. And the reason it didn't last very long is they soon figured out that Hamilton had a pre-existing condition. And that pre-existing condition is outlined for this elected body and has been for over a decade in our population health data, which shows that we have the highest concentration of urban poverty in all of Canada. So when you have a collision of issues like housing, like opioids, like mental health, you have to go back to the body politic and the pre-existing conditions. We can agree fiercely with Councillor Spadafora that these services are inappropriate. They have always been inappropriately based on an inelastic revenue base that compounds the very conditions because we have an income struggle in this community that dates far back to a global restructuring of our steel industry, where we have generations of people who have never been able to get back into the game of a good, decent, livable wage. And we talked about Hamilton's renaissance, which, come on, was largely fueled by people who were being priced out of Toronto, who came here and sought refuge in home ownership that they were denied in other places. Then we had Big Pharma and fentanyl and opioids. All of these things collided to bring us where we are today. I agree with my colleague that these are inappropriately on the property tax. They have always been inappropriate for some time. And we are particularly vulnerable because of our pre-existing conditions. But we are faced with the dilemma of, do we go down on the side of fighting on that principle? Or do we have to, are we compelled to face the evidence that is before us and the many challenges it is presenting to residents as this works itself out in our parks, in our streets, affecting our small businesses? We heard the delegates. We ignore that at our peril. I'm very hopeful and very confident in our mayor's capacity, ability, and great honor in which she is doing her work to bring the attention to this that it deserves. And I know I'm not naive, that she has to do that in such a way that is part diplomacy, part salt, part sugar. Mostly sugar, right? I noted in the mayor's extremely good address to the chamber audience, which was sold out, by the way, she never failed in asking other partners to step up and also join her in asking for support, because every voice matters and this city matters. So I think it's regrettable sometimes when we talk about scarcity of need. I think it's regrettable when we talk about emergencies facing us, that we can often pit one against the other. Because it's affecting us. It's affecting parts of this city more than others, certainly. But I fully support the mayor's directive. I fully support where it got us here with this, these recommendations. And I fully support our ongoing efforts to bring to the attention of senior orders of government the pre-existing conditions, which are Hamilton's, and the need for us to be assisted in a sustainable, rightful manner. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. We're now on to the second and third time speakers. Councillor Jackson, please.
Thanks, Mayor Horwath. An hour ago, I just asked for a separation of the paragraphs, but since many people have spoken eloquently, passionately, I'm going to as well provide a speech so that my community, if they missed me last week at GIC, knows where I stand on this issue for public consumption. First of all, I'd like to say to Councillor Nan, I just started. Okay.
It wasn't me either, Councillor Jackson, I promise.
Yeah, I know. It's always Ward
Just
6.
clear
I know. No,
fest up.
relax, everyone. It's okay. Don't try to recover now. I want to say to Councillor Nan, who's absorbing about 2/3 of the 192 shelter beds, she has my community's full support for the direction given to General Manager Mader, if there's that opportunity to give some much needed relief to the neighboring communities of Bishops, Myrtle, and Beaver Park. Absolutely full support. Already, I would say a disproportionate amount exists in that very ward that very few representatives can represent with some dignity and with some efficiency, as the current Ward 3 councillor is doing. And I just can't imagine the challenges that many of us around this table can't even fathom for a moment. So I just want to get that on the record. If that's going to come back and ultimately we'll need a decision, Mayor Horwath, she'll have my full support on that kilometer radius. I want to say to Councillor Cassar, I am one too. I think my record over my many honored years on council, Mayor Horwath, has been one that strives for consensus and strives for unanimity. I would humbly suggest, if in your particular ward, and I think there's probably a quarter of the 15 wards around this august chamber that probably haven't had to be concerned about encampments and have, I'll call it, led Mayor Horwath, I say this respectfully, led more of a cloistered, charmed life. I don't recall seeing delegates from certain wards in our city, probably more in the outlying areas. I'm happy for you. You can have a sense of my editorial, you can have a sense of relief. You need to experience what 8, 9, 10 of the wards in this city have gone through to understand the pushback and the loss of compassion for those that are living in tents in neighborhood parks that once were enjoyed by families prior to this homeless issue that none of us created, but a majority of council, in my humble opinion, enabled to legally exist with conditions in neighborhood parks. If you haven't experienced it as a colleague, you have no idea what the rest of us have gone through. You've heard it through delegations over the last few months where people finally, Mayor Horwath, reached a boiling point and said, we will not accept this anymore, and we're going to continue to fight to win back our neighborhood parks for our families and our kids. Lastly, on the outdoor sheltered site, paragraph of C again, which I'll ask for part of this separation, the community is begging, pleading, imploring for a rescinding of the encampment protocol as soon as possible. If we're going to go the route of sanctioned sites, which in theory I want to support, but it does not. But if it doesn't correlate with an immediate or an end date secured, I even suggested, I think last week publicly, I'll give General Manager Mader and staff till December 31st of this year. You got 3.5 months. Can you do it by then? Anything to give the community and neighborhoods hope that there will be a final end to the rescinding of the encampment protocol so that tents existing in those parks in the future after it's been rescinded can be removed immediately, put in hopefully safe places, shelters, subsidized units, whatever it might be in future sanctioned sites, Mayor Horwath. So I'll stand by my remark that was publicized last week. Without an immediate rescinding, you've got the worst of both worlds going forward. So again, Mayor Horwath, at the appropriate time, I'll ask for a separation of votes once all your speakers are exhausted. Thank you, Mayor Horwath.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Crutch, please.
Wasn't going to speak a second time either, to Councillor Jackson's point. I'll humbly suggest that where we're seeing this, the impacts of what's happening are in Wards 2 and Ward 3. We have stats from city staff that make it screamingly clear that more than 2/3 of all encampments are in Wards 2 and 3. The highest number in Ward 2, the second highest number in Ward 3. So I think I'm in a position where I can speak for the community of people who are facing impacts. Respectfully. There are a handful of encampment sites in other wards, and you're right, some wards there aren't any. But of the approximately 90 to 120 encampment sites that have been going on, 50% of those, pardon me, 2/3 of those, I think it's 60-something%, are in Wards 2 and Ward 3. I just want to say it again so everyone can just really feel and understand that. And we all represent not only our wards, but everyone across the city. And so we're entitled to our opinions here for sure. What I hear from residents in the areas where the impacts are greatest is the most compassion, the most desire to see a solution here to assist people and help them. And a recognition that, yeah, it's stressful, it's tough, but we have to take our time when we do these things and not be too heavy-handed when we do them, because it'll create more harm. And people see the harm right in front of their faces because they live with it every single day. And it's not just about the folks who are sitting there seeing this and looking at this. It's people who are living in these conditions that they didn't ask for. No one asked to be homeless. So I hear what you're saying, folks, some of you, but that's the situation, that's the reality, and that's what I'm seeing every day. Also, this isn't about just opening up a space anywhere and hoping that someone can get a spot. It's about, for many people who are homeless and are chronically homeless, means they've been homeless for a while, it's not a matter of opening a door and saying, go here. We need to provide support to assist them. And there's been work done in Ward 2 and City Housing Hamilton buildings and elsewhere. Pilots have been run to demonstrate what's really required to get someone from a position where they're chronically homeless into a place where they can be supported to live. And that's a lot of work. It's a lot of support. And so this isn't a snap of a finger solution that we can get. It's not going to happen by December 31st of this year, and it's not going to happen by December 31st of next year either. This is a decades in the making, as Councillor Cassar said, problem, and it's going to take us decades to fix it. Why anyone would think that was different is beyond me. We can't spend decades getting into a problem and think it's going to be solved overnight or in the short term. And yeah, we need help from other levels of government, for sure. We do. Some of that is coming, I hope, and the mayor's motion to ask government to give us direct funding is important. And so hopefully we'll see some of that. But I think we have to let some of the hyperbole go. This is not only done on the backs of Hamiltonians, as some are saying. What our city staff have done is collected evidence and facts. Let's focus on those things, evidence and facts, not opinions, about where people are coming from. Yes, according to point-in-time survey results, about 20% of the folks that we're finding in encampments may not have originally lived in Hamilton. And They're coming here because they have social ties, familial ties, other kinds of reasons they're coming to the city. And guess what? People are leaving Hamilton to go to London, Ottawa, Toronto, Peterborough, Grimsby, you name it. They're leaving the city. So what are we going to do? Create a system where we start saying to the people of Grimsby or the people of Toronto, okay, go and count everyone, then we'll give you money for the folks that are there, and then you give us money here in Hamilton for the folks that are here, and we'll set up a toll on the sidewalk here, and when someone comes in who's not from Hamilton, we'll check their ID first. Like, what's the proposal? All I hear is people saying, we don't like this. No one likes it. I hear zero solutions, and just constantly bickering about the fact that people from outside of Hamilton are coming here. I don't think anyone here would ever say the only people that are allowed to live in a city are the people who were born there. I wouldn't be sitting in this chair if that was the case. People move here for all kinds of reasons, and some of those things have to do with services, affordability. It's one of the reasons I moved here, because it was an affordable place to live. So I think we need to be careful about this and make sure we're talking about the facts here and the evidence from our staff who know why people move around in the province. And it's not only the backs of Hamiltonians, it's a province-wide crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kretsch. I don't see any other speakers, but I think GM Mader wanted to add a piece of clarification to the conversation.
Through the chair to the councillors, to your point, actually, we were just in the process, and I just shared a note with the city manager today about a point in time count that's coming up, and that she'll be sharing with the mayor and team and then with everyone. So I think it will give us the opportunity to have some clarity on that topic for sure.
Thanks very much. Appreciate that piece of information. So we are continue to be on 6.3. We continue to be on item 2. Councillor Clark, did you want to speak to this one?
Yes, I have not spoken to the overall item. I've spoken to amendments, and I have, as I am apt to do, listened intently to the conversations around this table. Even when people are speaking, while I'm speaking, I listen. Councillor Cassar, a statement of decades, 20 years, it goes back even further than that. The movement of people between municipalities in this great country has happened for generations. Some people move to Hamilton, believe it or not, because we have tremendous health care and they have a loved one who needs special care in one of our teaching hospitals. I have friends who take their kids to Niagara for ice hockey. They don't pay a special fee because they're coming to Niagara and they're using the Niagara ice rink. And vice versa. They come to Hamilton from other municipalities. They don't pay a special fee just because they're using our ice rinks. I have met people in Valley Park Library from Smithville, and they brag about our library. So people come to Hamilton for a variety of reasons, and I am loath to hear that we're talking about not permitting people to come to Hamilton for services. Councillor Maureen Wilson is bang on when she spoke historically about some of the issues that has transpired in this province. And there was a time when regional services were pooled for social services, but they didn't want Hamilton to be involved. Hamilton got cut out of that equation, and our staff remember that all too well. And then eventually they got rid of it in the GTA. So each municipality pays their own way. I opposed putting people in parks, permitting people to tent in parks in the very first motion. I didn't think it was a good idea. I thought it was going to bring great divisiveness to the municipality and to this council chamber. And it has. Councillor Kretsch, Councillor Nan, 100% correct. They have a huge burden on their residents when well over 60% of the unhoused residents in Hamilton are situated in those communities. We're increasing shelters in Councillor Nan's area, and I supported the increasing of shelters from the beginning. I thought that was a better solution. I still don't think enabling tents is humane. I disagree completely. Others think it's fine. I have listened, I have waited to hear a solution. And those who are saying, hell no, not in parks, what's the solution? The police is not the solution. They've made it very clear. They're not going to get rid of homelessness by arresting people. They don't want to be involved. They're there to help provide security to our staff who are encouraging people sleeping in tents to come inside where it is warm, to come inside and get services. But the chief made it pretty clear. The way the act is written and his authority, you can't just clear them out of the parks and say you got no place to go. Which, coincidentally, is the crux of the charter rights challenge that we are facing in court. Clearing them out, if we don't have shelters, we just can't push people on. So I'm still waiting for the solutions. And this is the best solution that has come up so far. And I look to all my colleagues who are opposed to it. What's your solution then? How are we going to deal with this? There isn't a solution, folks, except what is before us. Increasing shelter beds, increasing, in this case, the outdoor tents or shelters, and pushing hard to the province and the feds for funding to help pay what they helped cause. The city of Hamilton did not cause homelessness. Senior levels of government and their policy shifts created the problem. The economy created the problem. The lack of mental health beds and services created the problem. The lack of addiction services created the problem. Waiting 2 years to see a psychiatrist created the problem. Waiting a year and a half to pay $30,000 to go to rehab is the problem. Those are the things that are creating homelessness, and we're simply wrestling with the outcome. The only way to get them out of the parks is to provide them a place to go. That's what this is hoping to accomplish. And putting our shoulder to the wheel to make that happen is what, in my humble opinion, this council should be doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. I don't see any other speakers on item 2. So thank you for that. I know it's going to be separated out for a separate vote, but we still have the balance of the report that's before us. So the way that we would normally do this is go to the other items that folks want to discuss in this General Issues Committee Report 24-015. So with that in mind, I'm going to start that process off myself, which I don't usually do, but I'm going to this time just to get it out of the way and ask Councillor Pauls to please take the chair while I present a motion on item 1, which I probably should have done before item 2.
That's okay. Okay, Mayor Horwath has an amendment to item 1 respecting 2024-2028 tourism strategy. Mayor Horwath, please introduce your amendment.
Thanks very much, Deputy Mayor Pauls, and thanks to my seconder, Councillor Maureen Wilson. And this amendment has been circulated, I believe. Just want to make sure, no nods on that one. I'm sorry then. That was our bad from my office, but we'll put it up on the screen. And all it really does is tease out some of the conversation we were having about particularly the music piece. And it's interesting that Councillor Pauls mentioned that in her description of what was happening in Mexico with the young people. But I'm just going to read it out really quickly, that the tourism strategy, item 8.1, that report, respecting that strategy, be amended by adding a couple of additional subsections to bring to life that conversation that we had had. B, that staff be directed to enhance and increase the presence and focus of music, music culture, and music-related activities in the 2024 to 2028 tourism strategy, either via expansion of an existing pillar or creation of a fifth distinct pillar dedicated to music. C, that as part of this music focus, the 2024 to 2028 tourism strategy include a recommendation that staff research the feasibility of applying to the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, to designate Hamilton as a music city, part of the UNESCO Creative Cities Network, and report back to Council. And D, that the aforementioned work be included in the draft 2024-2028 tourism strategy in advance of its circulation for final public consultation. And I really think we had a good conversation about that. If I can, through you, Councillor Pauls, just say I'm hoping for your support. I appreciate Councillor Wilson taking this on. I can tell you that our music history in this city is very rich, and lots of people know that very well. So everything from, the Washingtons and Jackie Washington, I think there's a park in Councillor Crutch's ward named after Jackie Washington, the first artist, actually, that was ever named as somebody who, first artist to have a name on a park. There was a certain city councillor back then that made that happen with Jackie's approval. But the point is, not only do we have amazing homegrown talent that comes out of this city, we are an attraction for independent artists, musicians to come here. I was just at the 140th celebration of the HPO, the Hamilton Philharmonic Orchestra's 140th season opener. And I think if you go all the way back, folks like Billie Holiday played Hamilton. It was such a thriving scene. So on that note, I just want to say I'm hoping for your support. And again, this is part of a consultation process, so the final will come back in November anyways. Thank you.
Okay, is there any discussion on this wonderful amendment? Councillor Jackson?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Pauls, on this wonderful amendment, Mayor Horwath, 150% support from this former bass clarinetist. I want to say that if this is a resurrecting or a new version of the Music City moniker, I only offer this, and I'm fully supportive today. I would ask Acting Tourism Director Lisa Abbott, who's brand new to our city, maybe for those in her department that have been around longer, I swear since amalgamation, at some point in time, through the work of the Hamilton Musicians Guild, and Brent and Jana Malseed, who were both president and executive director of that union, they lobbied strongly for some form of Music City designation for our city, but it could not be as possibly as an official or as formal as what you've done today. So it's awesome what you've done today. 100% support. We deserve that designation. We're a great music city, and with great music attractions of the past, homegrown music talent across the board, full support. But if there's something in our archives that could further embolden, bolster your motion today, I would just simply ask staff to pursue that and add that to your motion going forward. But for the modern day point in time, 150% support. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Pauls.
Thank you. And it was a wonderful amendment, right? 150%. Anyone else? I don't see anyone else, so let's indicate your vote. And it passes 15-0, and you may take the chair back.
Thanks very much, Councillor Pauls, and thank you all for your support. Ironically, when we were having that discussion at the committee, Daniel Lenoir was here and Tom Wilson was here. But Tom Jackson could have been right along with them with his clarinet. So I think this will really encourage folks in the community. So thank you for that. So we are now back onto the agenda as a whole. Rather the item as a whole, 6.3. Any further items that folks wanted to discuss on 6.3, and then we're going to pull it out for separate votes on various items. Seeing none? Okay, I'm going to go to this roadmap, and hopefully I get it right. This is the result of a request from Councillor Jackson, correct, Councillor Jackson, that we separate out some of the subsections in item 2 of the General Issues Committee report, just for the separate votes. And thank you all for the vigorous and full discussion. It was very good. So reducing homelessness and managing encampments, PED 24162 citywide. It's a longer title than that. We wanted to remove out item 1. Item 2I? Oh, I see. 2I and then B as well, correct? So let's start with 2I, which is the 192 spaces to create temporary shelter capacity. Do you want it up on the screen, folks? Which ones we're doing? No? Okay, so item I, that council approve the following 190 spaces to create temporary shelter capacity in the homeless serving system to respond to the needs of unhoused individuals, homelessness and encampments in an approximate cost of $3,678,678 for operating plus $498,820 one-time grants from October 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025, to be funded from the Housing Sustainability and Investment Roadmap Reserve up to a total of $4,177,468, with a breakdown as follows. The breakdown's in the report, and so there's that's what we're voting on first.
So Mayor, that's one which includes paragraphs A and B that speak to
and
the
Keith's B,
192
okay.
shelters.
All right, as well
correct?
then, yeah.
Thank you.
correct.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So then that's the vote in front of us, taking item 2 with A and B as a whole. And that carries a 15-0. And now the other one that was removed is item 2, correct?
Roman numeral 2, C, which is the outdoor shelters, please, separate vote.
Okay,
And then Roman numeral 3D about the 7 higher FTE new hires.
I got you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you,
Councillor
Mayor.
Jackson. So item two in that report. That carries 12-3. We have somebody who wants to correct his
Yeah, I
vote.
want to correct my vote on that. Sorry, apologies. I thought that was the I got ahead of myself. I was on the next item there. Apologies.
And so then that's change. The vote changes to with the amendment or with the change.
Yeah, we'll redo the vote.
Are we
My
going to redo the whole
apologies.
vote?
Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No, not a problem. Not a problem.
The vote is up now.
This is the temporary shelter piece, right?
Correct. This is item 2, sub 2C. Related to the temporary outdoor shelters.
And that carries 11-4. Thanks very much. And then the final one is 2, sub 5F. How's that, clear?
Nope, we have the next, yep, item 2, sub 3D. This is that council approves 7 permanent FTEs to undertake the work to support, et cetera.
Oh, I see it. Okay. So, sorry about that, folks. And that carries 9-6. And then we have a final one, right? Or is that everything?
We can do 2 others. I believe that was the request and how it was done previously. So item 2, sub 4E, and item 2, sub 5F.
We do those ones together? Okay.
Together? Okay. So the balance then of item 2.
Okay, we get the vote up on the balance. It's not come up, no. There we go, it's up. And that carries 15 to 0. Thanks very much, everyone. Just trying to get my bearings now here. We're on to the next item. If I'm not mistaken, this is the next report, which is 6.4. Is that where we are?
We need
Yes?
to vote on the balance of the GIC report.
Okay. Oh, right, that's right. Thank you so much. The balance of the GIC report, please. Have that vote up. And that carries 15 to 0. Thank you very much, everyone. We're now on to 6.4, which is the Audit, Finance, and Administration Committee Report, 24-016, September 19th, 2024. Councillor Wang is not here. Who is the vice chair of that committee? Audit, Finance, and Councillor Spadafora. Can I please have a motion to receive and approve the recommendations within the Audit, Finance, and Administration Committee's report?
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Maureen Wilson, that the Audit, Finance, and Administration Committee Report 24-016, being the meeting held on Thursday, September 19th, 2024, be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved.
Okay, thanks very much. Any discussion on this report, folks? Seeing none, we will then go to the vote. Thank you. And that carries 15 to 0. Thanks very much. 6.5 is the Emergency and Community Services Committee Report, 24-006, September 19th, 2024. Councillor Alex Wilson, may I please have a motion to receive and approve the recommendations within the Emergency and Community Services Committee Report?
Thank you, Mayor. It's moved by myself, seconded by Vice Chair Councillor Crutch, that the Emergency Community Services Report and the recommendations there within be received and approved.
Thanks very much. Councillor Jackson, please go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Horvath. Two items, item 2, and then the information section A as well. Item 2, just want to compliment our Hamilton's Plan for Age-Friendly Community 2023 Community Progress Report at ECS last week. We heard a wonderful presentation from our project manager, Lisa Maychuk, who is just awesome in the role and responsibilities that she carries out, along with volunteers, Chair Penelope Petrie of the Seniors Advisory Committee and the Treasurer Angie Armstrong as well. And in collaboration with the Hamilton Council on Aging, this has been an amazing success story, Mayor Horvath. We were one of the first cities to designate age-friendly for Hamilton in 2014, and since then, 1,600 other cities across the world have also designated age-friendly. I think our seniors, older adults, and the frail elderly population of our city could not be in better shape because of the amazing collaboration and cooperation of the Hamilton Council on Aging, the Seniors Advisory Committee, and with support from the municipality and past and current city councils to provide the appropriate funding to do all the great work they do, especially for those seniors in our community that are shut-ins, that aren't as mobile, and that need supports across the housing, transportation, recreation, homelessness spectrum, elder abuse spectrum. They just all do amazing work, and it was a great presentation, and I just want to commend them again for carrying on the great work they do, Mayor Horvath. That's my item 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wanted to speak on item 2? I don't see anyone. Okay, I think you had another one, Councillor Jackson.
If I might, Mayor Horvath, thank you. Through you to General Manager Angie Burden, and hopefully if Chief Michael Sanderson is available. Now, we heard a great news announcement last week at ECS with hospital staff present, with Chief Sanderson and his amazing team, finally decreasing offload wait times at the Juravinski Hospital has become a reality. This is something that, again, past and this current council have provided, Mayor Horvath, annual subsidy operating dollars every budgetary session to increase the number of paramedics in our portfolio. I think we have over 300 now. Also with additional capital dollars to purchase vans. As you know, the province gives us basically a 50-50 cost share for paramedic service, EMS service in our community. This is something that some of us, myself, I'll speak for, have been hammering away with just tremendous concern, anguish, unhappiness, puzzlement as to why the offloads have been hours upon hours at times when you see many of our ambulances lined up down the street waiting to offload. And Chief Sanderson has constantly been pursuing this with the province and the hospital sector. We heard a great announcement last week that it's gone from something like 3-4 hours down to something like maybe 15 minutes. I just thought it was a great news story for public consumption and council for those viewing in that should hear from him as well. Through you, Mayor Horvath, I'll leave it to General Manager Burden or Chief Sanderson. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Councillor Jackson. Very important indeed. And the Chief is with us. So Chief Sanderson, if you wanted to take this wonderful accolade that Councillor Jackson introduced and give a presentation or some comments to our team here, our council team. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Jackson, and through you, Madam Mayor. I was very pleased to be able to be present at committee to bring the folks in the Juravinski Hospital, in particular the frontline staff, as well as the leadership roles. We have worked with them extensively over the last few years through a lot of quality improvement activities. Councillor Jackson is absolutely correct. I've focused on 2 different issues. One is to make sure we have the right size of a service, the right number of paramedics in order to manage effectively the call volumes as the call volumes increase. But secondly, to reduce the number of offload delays to bring ambulances back into service so that we end up having the right level of service in not occupied staffing hospital hallways. The Juravinski Hospital led the way in the process, certainly the staff there, frontline staff, as well as the leadership. going through quality improvement activities. Deputy Chief Crocker was heavily engaged in a lot of those activities, taking the hospital staff through to other locations, bringing other people in, going through the quality improvement processes. It's been an iterative process as we go through the PDSA cycles, as we go through the levels of activity, but successfully moving from hours and hours, more than 3.5 hours at the 90th percentile back in 2021 for the months of September, down to the current 15 to 25 minutes, which is well within the ministry's standard of 30 minutes at the 90th percentile. So the Juravinski has led the way. They've been successful at maintaining it at that level for several months now. Great work in their part. What that has done is it's contributed to a reduction in reduced resources for ambulances across the city. And I was just so pleased to be able to say that we've only had 2 code zeros this year. We've come close a few times, but we've only had 2 code zero events, and that compares to our peak of several hundred back in 2022. We reduced it in 2023, partially as a result of improvement at the hospitals, as well as the staffing that the city has put into place. And now we're down to 2 code zero events. And Councillor Jackson, both of those code zero events occurred in January of this year. I have to knock on wood in the process. We've not had a code zero event since the second week of January. So that's really good news for us in the process. It's great news for our staff as they've been able to end up getting the recuperation and the time in between calls. It has improved our response time performance across the city. And as I said, that committee meeting, this is one of those things where it's good news that in healthcare something is contagious. It has spread now out to other hospitals in the process. The Hamilton General Hospital is starting to improve in the activities. Despite the construction activity underway at St. Joseph's Hospital, they are continuing to improve as well, and they're coming down in the process. So we are managing the offload delay issues, I think, quite effectively, and I look forward to that continuing in the process, Councillor Jackson.
Thanks, Chief Sanderson. That's really amazing. And I'll give it back to you, Councillor Jackson, but I think the people of Hamilton are very, very well served by this announcement and the work that's been done.
Mayor Horwath, our chief is way too modest a man. Tremendous leadership and accolades and applause to Chief Sanderson and his amazing team, and OPSU 256 and President Mario Pastorero and the over 300 paramedics that do amazing work. I hope my colleagues listen carefully. Used to be hundreds of code zeros, down to 2 this year. 3.5 hours offload wait time for people in desperate need of surgery, down to 15 to 20 minutes. Just tremendous, sensational, spectacular news, and I hope it eventually covers all of our hospital sector. Thanks, Mayor Horwath. Thank you, Chief.
Thanks very much, Councillor Jackson, and thank you, Chief Sanderson. I don't see any other folks wishing to speak to this particular item. Anybody else on the report itself? Seeing none, then we'll go to the vote, which was moved by Councillor Alex Wilson and seconded by Councillor Crutch. That carries 12-0. Thanks very much. We're now going to need to waive the notice provision. So Councillor Pauls, may I please have the motion to waive the notice provision to introduce the Hamilton Renewable Power Shareholder Report 24-001 and the Hamilton Street Railway Company Shareholder Report 24-001.
Yes, thank you. Moved by myself and second by Councillor Danko. That's Section 5.82 in City Procedural Bylaw 21021 as amended, which provide the minimum of 2 days shall pass before the report of standing committee, the selection committee, or other committee that report directly to council is presented to council to provide adequate opportunity to review. Be waived in order to consider the Hamilton Renewable Power Shareholder Report 24-001 and Hamilton Street Railway Company Shareholder Report 24-011. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pauls. So just on then the waiving of the rules, can we have that vote up, please? That carries 13 to 0. Thanks very much. So therefore, with the rules having been waived, we're on to 6.6, Hamilton Renewable Power Shareholder Report 24-001, September 24, 2024. Councillor Pauls, may I please have a motion to receive and approve the recommendations within the Hamilton Renewable Power Shareholder Report?
Thank you. You may. It's moved by myself, second by Councillor Beatty, that the Hamilton Renewable Power Shareholder Report 24-001, being the meeting held on Tuesday, September 24, 2024, be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved.
Okay, thanks very much. Any speakers on this report? Councillor Nam, please.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Nothing in terms of the content of the reports, just a procedural matter, if I could. Both this shareholders meeting and the HSR shareholders meeting were scheduled at a time that the City Housing Hamilton Board was also meeting. And so I just wanted to have some assurances. I want to balance. I know that our absence didn't cause any quorum issues, so that's not a problem. The business of the shareholders can continue on. But there are times when there's reports in those shareholder meetings that members of council should all have their due opportunity to speak to if needed. And I don't want to have the board committee meetings be in conflict for the shareholder meetings going forward. So if I could just flag that, and if there's any response from the clerk, that would be great as well.
Thanks, Councillor Nan. I don't know whether Clerk Trenum would like to respond. Appreciate the flag.
We appreciate the flag, Mayor, and through you to the councillor, and we'll look into that going forward.
Thanks, Councillor Nan. Appreciate it. I don't see any further speakers on the report, so we'll go to the vote, please. That carries 15 to 0. Thanks very much. And then 6.7 is the Hamilton Street Railway Company Shareholder Report 24-001, September 24, 2024. Councillor Pauls, may I please have the motion to receive and approve the recommendations within the Hamilton Street Railway Company Shareholder Report?
Moved by myself and second by Councillor Beatty, that the Hamilton Street Railroad Company Shareholder Report 24-001, being the meeting held on Tuesday, September 24, 2024, be received and the recommendation contained therein be approved.
Thanks very much. And with the same flag, I know that that's the same flag for this particular meeting. And so any comment other than that? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote then. And that carries 15 to 0. Thanks very much, all. We're now on to motions. We're going to go on to motions, folks. You want to keep going? Oh, sorry.
Rise from.
Oh, we have to rise from committee of the whole. I'm sorry. Councillor Pauls, can I have that motion, please?
It's moved by myself, second by Councillor Beatty, that the committee of the whole rise as council to report and confirm the action taken in committee of the whole.
Thanks very much, Councillor Pauls. Councillor Beatty, on to that vote. That carries 15 to 0. So thanks very much. As I was asking, motions, folks ready to keep plowing on? Yeah, okay. All right, we'll go on to the motions then, please. Number 7.1 is amendment to item 9E of the General Issues Committee Report 24-002, respecting Westdale Village Business Improvement Area proposed budget and schedule of payments, PED 24014, Ward 1, item 10.3E. Councillor Pauls, would you please present your motion?
Thank you. It's moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Wilson, that the amendment to item 9E, of General Issue Committee Report 24022, respecting the Westdale Village Business Improvement Area proposed budget schedule payment, it's quite a lengthy. Do you want me to read it all, or you just want me to do the whereas? Therefore be resolved that item 9E of the General Issue Committee Report 24002 respecting Westdale Village Business Improvement Area proposed budget and schedule of payments, Ward 1, Councilor Maureen Wilson, be amended as follows. Business Improvement Area 2024 proposed budget and schedule of payment. Westdale Village Business Improvement Area proposed budget and schedule of payment. That the 2024 operating budget for the Westdale Village Business Improvement Area attached as Appendix J to GIC Report 24002 in the amount of $131,828 be approved. That the levy portion of the operating budget of the Westdale Village Business Improvement Area in the amount of $131,828 be approved. That the general manager of finance and corporate service be hereby authorized and directed to prepare the requisite bylaw pursuant to Section 208, the Municipal Act 2001, to levy the 2024 budget as referenced in the recommendation of the report, PED 24014, that the following schedule of payment of 2024 be approved. So February was $65,914, June was $65,914. Note, the appeals may be deducted from the levy payment. And that's the motion.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Pauls.
Okay.
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. So the motion is in front of us, duly moved and seconded.
Okay.
Any discussion? Seeing none, can we go to the vote, please, then? That carries 15-0. Thanks very much. 7.2 is Halton-Hamilton Water Source Protection Committee resignation. Councillor Jackson, would you please present your motion?
Mayor Horvath, when Deputy Clerk Pilon approached me to move this motion, I accepted with a heavy heart. Moved by myself, seconded by Ward 10 Councillor Jeffrey Beattie. Whereas the meetings of the Halton-Hamilton Water Source Protection Committee conflict with the City of Hamilton's Standing Committee and Council meetings, therefore be it resolved with regrets that Council accept Councillor Ted McMeekin's resignation from the Halton-Hamilton Water Source Protection Committee, and he wants it effective immediately. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Jackson. I'm sorry, your seconder was? Councillor Beattie. Okay. I guess there's no discussion on that one, so we'll go straight to the vote. The vote's not finished yet. We're waiting for the results there, Councillor McMeekin. Don't jump ahead of it. That carries 15-0. Thanks very much. We are now on to 7.3, which is the Swansea Tenants Association Committee Thanksgiving Dinner, Ward 6, revised. Councillor Jackson, over to you for your motion.
Thank you so much, Mayor Horvath. And when somebody gets the president of a corporation enthusiastically wanting to second my motion, I take full advantage of that. So moved by myself, seconded by President Narinder Nan, Ward 3 Councillor. Whereas the Swansea Swansea Tenants Association, all volunteers at 801 Upper Gage in Ward 6 have planned a Thanksgiving dinner for 100 to 150 tenants on Saturday, October 5th, whereas the association will be delivering meals to shut-ins, waiving the customary fee in order for more tenants to participate, whereas the policy in our guidelines for eligible expenses for elected officials states our limit is $560 per named organization per year, whereas the request exceeds the maximum for the following reasons: providing support for an event organized by a volunteer group in a CHH building. Without its support, funding, many tenants would potentially not be able to afford the dinner, feel isolated during the special social event time in the building, and a one-time request. Therefore, be resolved, A, that for this one-time exception, the maximum noted in the policy and guidelines for eligible expenses for elected officials be waived. B, an upset limit of $1,300 be allocated from my operating budget department number noted there for the Swansea Tenants Association Committee for Thanksgiving dinner for the tenants on Saturday, October 5th. C, Mayor Horwath, City Clerk Trentham be authorized, directed to execute any required agreements, ancillary documents, such terms, conditions satisfactory to City Solicitor Shields. Mayor Horwath, I just want to congratulate again such a great active tenants association in one of our CHH buildings at 801 Upper Gage near Mohawk Road. President Sue McTaggart, Treasurer Estelle Woolridge, and their entire committee. Once again, volunteers, they go out to purchase all the buns, the turkey, the vegetables, the potatoes that go with it, and put on a great spread for the tenants. There's up to 240 tenants in the building. They anticipate up to about 150, possibly more, will participate and partake. And without them, this wasn't even possible. But the funding, of course, without the funding, hopefully approved by my colleagues in a few minutes, allows them not to charge any fee for the dinner. And thanks again to Deputy Clerk Janet Pilon for the help of the language of the motion. Thank you, Mayor Horwath.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. So that's moved by yourself and seconded by Councillor Nan. Any discussion? Councillor Nan, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, happy to second it, and appreciating the fact that, this is a not often scenario where we go beyond our office budget allocations, but recognizing the food security that's going to be addressed as a result of this really important activity, also the social cohesion that it helps build inside of our really beloved City Housing Hamilton portfolio. Really proud to support Councillor Jackson's efforts here. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you both. I see no further speakers, so we'll go to the vote. And that carries 15-0. Thanks very much. We're on to 7.4. And as this motion refers to me, I'm going to pass the chair back over to Councillor Nan. So please.
Yes, this motion is.
Councillor Francis, or sorry, Councillor Pauls. I said because you were the last one speaking. So
yes.
Over to Deputy Mayor Pauls.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, it's Councillor Francis. Will you introduce your motion at 7.4, please?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Pauls. I'll be withdrawing my motion today.
Right,
I've
good.
made my statement public.
Yes, you may. Thank you.
I stand by that, and I stand by the Integrity Commissioner's findings. Thank you.
And thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Take it back, Mayor.
Thanks very much, Councillor Pauls. We're now on to notices of motion. So I have a notice of motion that I circulated, and it is regarding the commemoration of September 30th, the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. So I'd also then now have to relinquish the chair to Councillor Pauls, please.
Okay, introduce your motion, please.
Thanks very much. I got ahead of myself there. So the motion was circulated, I believe. It's moved by myself, and I'm hoping that I can have a motion to, I can have a seconder to waive the rules to be able to put the motion forward.
I will second.
Okay?
Yes, so we'll vote on waiving of the rule. And it's passed 15-0, or 16-15. Okay, it's passed, so go ahead and introduce your motion.
Thanks very much, Deputy Mayor Pauls. So this motion was circulated and it's moved by myself, and I want to say thank you to Councillor Kretsch for agreeing to second the motion. This motion really does speak to our opportunity with the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation coming up on Monday, I believe, to consider whether it's something that we want to go forward with in terms of making sure that this particularly important day that was brought forward by the federal government be reinforced here in Hamilton as a day for reflection and participation in events for everyone. And I'm not going to read through all of the whereases, but there are recommendations within the commission, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission calls to action that include a number of pieces that we need to, I think, embrace here at the city. And I hope you would agree. We have as I said, the date upon us on Monday, and I think that it's really clear that some provinces are going ahead themselves with making this a provincial statutory holiday. British Columbia, Prince Edward Island, Northwest Territories, Nunavut, and the Yukon. Our province has not done that yet, so my request of all of you is to look at what other municipalities are doing, whereas the town of Oakville, city of Mississauga, city of Brampton. So instead of going through all the whereases, you can see I'm just kind of skimming over them to get to the resolves. But there are a number of cities, Middlesex Centre, Owen Sound, Greater Greater Sudbury, Port Hope, Burlington, all have declared September 30th as National Day of Truth and Reconciliation as a municipal statutory holiday. AMO has closed their doors in recognition of the day. We have commitments around truth and reconciliation at this city. We have our urban Indigenous strategy, which includes a number of objectives which are listed in that whereas, and so I'll go to the resolve. That staff with support from the Indigenous Relations team be directed to report back to the General Issues Committee in Q2 2025 with recommendations on the process the City of Hamilton would follow in order to recognize National Truth and Reconciliation Day as a municipal holiday beginning in 2025, September 30th, 2025, that is, including a jurisdictional scan of the processes other municipalities have followed in recognizing their municipal holiday, and two is any potential human resources, financial or legal impacts, and that the Mayor and Council forward the letter of support to Premier Ford to make the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation a provincial statutory holiday. So it's doing something ourselves, getting the information necessary to do that appropriately, if I may, just to finish off, and also then to join the chorus of other voices and municipalities that are asking for the provincial statutory holiday to take place. Those are my remarks. Thanks very much.
That's
Hoping
great.
for your support.
Is there any, okay, Councillor Danko, questions?
No questions, just a couple comments. So I'm certainly going to support the recommendation to report back with information. But noting there would, I believe, probably be a financial implication to the city of Hamilton, and also the complexity of inserting another statutory holiday in between Labor Day on September 2nd and Thanksgiving on October 14th would probably be a challenge. That, and as well as recognition of Remembrance Day on November 11th, which is not a statutory holiday. And part of the discussion around Remembrance Day being a statutory holiday is that it's, part of the argument is that it's beneficial to have students in class and people at work, so that when Remembrance Day is reflected, that there's an opportunity for those educational opportunities surrounding the remembrance, and also a social aspect of having people together to remember veterans on Remembrance Day. And I think a lot of those arguments would probably apply similarly to Truth and Reconciliation on October 30th. So I'm just hoping that's considered in the information that's brought back. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And is there any other questions or comments by my colleagues? I don't see any, so we will go to the vote. And it passes 15-0. You may have the chair back.
Thanks very much, Councillor Pauls. We are now on to the funding, 8.2, funding for the costs associated with the road closure for the Keith Neighborhood Fundraising Event, Ward 3. Councillor Nan, may I please have the motion to waive the rules?
Thank you. Certainly, Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Maureen Wilson that the rules be waived to allow the introduction of this motion respecting funding for the costs associated to the road closure for Keith Neighborhood Fundraising Event. And the reason being, this is in response to the tragic accident that injured 11-year-old Natalie, and the community is coming together to host a fundraiser event, and it's taking place shortly. Thank you.
Thank you. So that's moved by yourself and seconded by Councillor Maureen Wilson. Any discussion?
Just to waive the rules.
I'm sorry. Oh, this is the waiving of the rules. Sorry. That carries 15-0. Now, Councillor Nan for the actual motion, please.
Thank you, Mayor. It's again moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Maureen Wilson. And whereas on September 10th, 2024, 11-year-old Natalie was waiting for a school bus on Emerald Street North and was struck by a driver and suffered life-altering injuries in the Keith neighborhood. And whereas this child's family has experienced significant medical and related costs as a result of the accident and their time in the hospital, and whereas the residents of the Keith neighborhood are a tight-knit community in Ward 3 who have come together to organize a fundraiser for the family and future recovery costs that will be required for the child. And whereas the costs associated to the road closure and safety of the event should not be a burden to the fundraising efforts, nor come out of the funds being raised for the family. Therefore, be it resolved that A, the costs associated with the road closure be funded by the Ward 3 non-property tax revenue account as listed, to direct traffic management at an upset limit, including contingencies not to exceed $2,600, exclusive of HST, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized and directed to execute any required agreements and ancillary documents with such terms and conditions in a form that is satisfactory to the city solicitor. I don't think I need to say anything else. I think it's quite self-explanatory. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Nan. So that was moved by yourself and seconded by Councillor Wilson, Maureen Wilson. And I see no discussion, so we'll go to the vote. I think while we all reflect on that tragic situation. That carries 15-0. Thanks very much. I'm in your hands now. It's 12:16. We have statements by members and communications, and that's it. So should we just keep plowing through, folks? Okay, perfect. Let's keep going then. We'll go to statement by members, item 9. And let's get the list populated as we move to this agenda item. Folks know how to do that by letting the clerks know. Councillor Pauls?
I'm doing a lot of speaking today. Anyways, this is two important things coming up that it's dear to my heart, and it's dear to, I'm sure, most of you here. One of them is this Sunday. This Sunday at Lime Ridge Mall, we're doing the Suicide Prevention Community Council of Hamilton. We are running for Rachel. Rachel was a good friend of my good friend Sid Stacy and Tracy. And she died by suicide when she was 18. And we started this run many years ago, and we had an opportunity to change it to Lime Ridge Mall. Now it's grown, and it's been amazing. People are coming out, they're running to show support for the people that have lost loved ones and for people that has affected them themselves. It is a great event. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's registration. And sharply at 9, they'll do the walk or run. And I want to say that this helps research, it helps schools. They give funding to schools that they talk about this, and as we all know, it is important topic. I also want to know that the Suicide Prevention Community Council of Hamilton is a nonprofit charitable organization that has been serving for over 44 years, and they're working together with our city, with the province, to find ways that we can implement things that would help people that are going through those hard times. So I think it's an important event, and I hope you can make it. It starts at 9 o'clock. The second one that's very important to me is that housing has been the topic. And I want to say it's really ironic. We talked about more music, about the talent of people in Hamilton. We have the Undercovers, Love Lifted Me, on October 10th. And there will be, at the convention center, there's going to be a dinner and a concert. These three gentlemen, Luke Master, Kevin Pauls, and Joel Person, are all from Hamilton. They travel all over the world. They travel to sing different types of music. And the neat thing is, when I have to admit, one of them is my brother-in-law, when he told me he was coming to Hamilton, I said, why don't we do a fundraiser? And guess what? We're doing a fundraiser for Ophel. Ophel is Option for Independent Living Development. It's a great organization. Councillor Wilson, Maureen Wilson's been there. It's in her ward. We know the great work they do. And I want to let you know that we already sold 580 tickets. There's over 500. Our goal was 500. Now our goal is 700. I want to thank the councillor that bought tickets that are coming. You know who you are. I want to thank you for coming. We have some politician coming as well, provincial. So I am so excited that people are coming together for a good cause, for entertainment, for great music, and to help Ophel. So Ophel is opening 14 new beds, and they're just underway. It's almost finished. So I really appreciate if you look it up. It's called Love Lifted Me, Thursday, October 10th, 2024. And we want to get to 700 now. So please sign up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pauls. I've had the pleasure of hearing that band, and you will be lifted. There's no doubt about it. They're amazing. That was at your wedding anniversary, actually.
Yes.
So we are now on to Councillor Tattison, please.
A couple weeks back, the Bimbrook Agriculture Society had a very successful 171st Bimbrook Fair. No rain, big crowds, everyone was safe. Great support from Hamilton Police and Security Services and hundreds of volunteers. Thanks to the Mayor and Councillor Beattie for visiting and seeing why Glanbrook, though lacking a municipal indoor pool and rec center, is such a wonderful, wonderful area where community spirit thrives within the greater city of Hamilton. Thanks, Councillor Nan, for that acknowledgement. Jumping over to Mount Hope to say a big thank you to UPS, that's United Parcel Systems, and their teams of volunteers and the United Way and also the John C. Munro Hamilton International Airport for the 2024 UPS plane pull and United Way kickoff this past Saturday. Over 60 agencies, organizations, businesses, corporations, even the city sent a team. They came together for a fun day. Bouncy castles were there, face painting, cheerleaders, lots of good things happening, all in the spirit of raising money for great causes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tattison. Councillor McMeekin, please.
Thanks very much, Your Worship. I sort of smile. Someone said to me the other day, some things are pie in the sky when you die, and others are sound on the ground when you're around. And up in Ward 15, there's a lot of people grounded in, I had to chuckle when Esther was talking about the runs. Everybody's running these days, running somewhere for some cause. And the Terry Fox run raised over $30,000 in Waterdown, and thanks to Christina Birmingham and her team. I had the good fortune to be able to, I don't run as fast anymore, but at least I did a little bit of walking. The Canada Bladder Cancer Group had an event down at Bayfront Park, another walk to raise money for that cause. It is a cancer that, if discovered early, can be treated easily, relatively easily. If late, it's very difficult and very expensive. So these good people were there doing that. And Wayne Stickley from Ward 15 was leading the way on that. And finally, something that's really close to my heart, there's a group in the ward, in Waterdown-based group called Eagle's Nest. And the Eagle's Nest is a private, community-based mental health counseling service for kids and young people. And they have 5 counselors, trained counselors who deliver group and co-joint and individual counseling to young people. And it's having an absolutely amazing impact. I was at a fundraiser last night, was pleased to see over 100 of our citizens there in support. They're doing good work, and we talk a lot about mental health, and we need to really take a minute just to say thanks to the people who are in the trenches every single day dealing with young people and others, all of us who have mental health challenges. Those are my news points from the ward and beyond. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor McMeekin. Councillor Clark, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. From the ward and beyond, it almost sounds like a news show. First, I want to thank Councillor Esther Pauls for being the cheerleader that she is today. Was exhilarating, if nothing else, and you truly put your heart into everything that you do, including chairing these meetings, so thank you for that. Madam Mayor, I just want to announce that tonight is the town hall in my ward on policing. It's at the Salvation Army Church at 300 Paramount Drive. It starts tonight at 6 o'clock and will go to 8 o'clock. Lots of parking available. Police will be there to answer questions from residents, because we have been hearing from residents about break-ins, about cars being broken into, about speeding issues, and a number of other issues and concerns, and not the least of which is the number of shootings. So residents are feeling nervous. I spoke with a senior citizen who had her front door kicked in by a teenager who was looking for things to sell. And she supported it all up, and a month and a half later, it happened again. So there are issues in the ward. The police are aware of it, and I've invited them to come out to a town hall to answer questions and explain to the public exactly what's going on in the ward. And they are doing an excellent job within the ward, but people need to hear about it. So they'll present the crime ward stats at this town hall tonight. So once again, it's at the the Salvation Army Church, 300 Paramount Drive, from 6 until 8 o'clock. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Nam, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So a couple of updates and announcements on behalf of the Ward 3 office. One is that tomorrow afternoon or evening, we'll be hosting a community input session along with city staff on the Wilson Street and Sherman Avenue roadworks. This will be taking place from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. at the Morelli Rec Center. And it is about those roadworks that involve subsurface infrastructure as well as an opportunity then to reconstruct our roadways and make them more complete streets in two neighborhoods that absolutely need it. So this will include Wilson Street as well as the remaining phase for Sherman Avenue. We'll also be able to have staff outline what the construction projections are in terms of mitigating any negative impact to the community and ensuring that residents are well informed about the substantive work that's coming onto Wilson Street and future on Sherman Avenue. So again, that's tomorrow night at Morelli Center from 6:30 to 8:30. Pre-registration is encouraged only in order for us to best accommodate everybody's participation, and also in case you want to participate in a hybrid format. If you want to stay home, you can still learn all about it. You don't need to come, so just drop us an email at ward3@hamilton.ca and we'll make sure you have the link that you need. Second, and really exciting news, and thanks to Councillor Jackson for the reminder, on October 3rd, I will be present to help award the White, Pink, and Red Trillium Awards, recognizing our best and most beautiful gardens across the city. That will be taking place at the Gage Park Greenhouse, and it functions as a kickoff to our incredible mum show that happens annually. And this year's theme, drumroll please, is Candyland. So this year will feature over 200 different varieties of chrysanthemums. Visitors will be able to explore the vibrant candy-themed villages, including Cupcake Commons, Peppermint Forest, and Gingerbread Gardens. I'm wondering if there's going to be like a scent sensation going on throughout this whole thing too. Anyway, fun-filled activities at the Children's Activation Center that will be hosted on the weekends with the Children's Garden Project in collaboration with our Dundurn Kitchen Garden as well as the Hamilton Children's Museum. Again, Ward 3 welcomes all of our friends and neighbors to Gage Park Greenhouse from October 4th to the 13th daily to take in Candyland Chrysanthemum Extravaganza from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. and tickets are available at hamilton.ca/mumshow. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Nan. Councillor Beattie, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you. It's been a while since I've done a Ward 10 update, but it's been a really I can't match the energy beside me, but I've had a really excellent week in the ward, or I should say our community's had a really excellent week with a number of engagement pieces, and I just wanted to give some props and kudos to the right people. First, starting on Monday, we brought engagement to the people in Lake Point. We had a great, tremendous engagement session at Lake Point Park as we seek to renovate the park in 2025. And I'll tell you, we were supposed to start at 5 p.m. We showed up at 5:45 with LAS staff, and there was already a lineup of people waiting to take a look at what we have planned and offer their opinion. Particularly our youngest park users, which I thought was tremendous. The youth engagement was really phenomenal. My thanks to Megan and Claire from Landscape Architects Services, LAS, who stayed well after the streetlights had come on. We were all supposed to go home. We were well into overtime, I'm sure, but every idea was heard, every voice was captured. Some of the ideas that were suggested, including a dome, zip lines to everyone's house, a secret underground room, might require further study. But I think otherwise, we have a good direction and looking forward to the park reno commencing in 2025. From there to last night, the Stoney Creek Youth Council, Season 3. We started up again with a very, very impactful talk on youth mental health and mental wellness. It's a theme that's kind of carried through a few speaking points here today. Nurse Carol Federation and therapist Mark Fernandez, both from Public Health, really knocked it out of the park. And I mean, it was tremendous. And over the past 2 years, Mayor, we've had talks on transit, recreation, teen vaping, climate change. We've had various directors come out. We've had engagement from various city departments. We've had our local school board trustees from both boards come out for engagement with this group. This was far and away, and they've all been fantastic. This was far and away one of the best yet. And amongst the biggest turnout, we had nearly 30 kids. And we've now broadened the age a little bit to include the top end of elementary school students, students from grade 7 and 8. So we had some members join from that middle school classification, and really the quality of their leadership and their strength is just outstanding. Wanted to make note that we've also, we've got our first member from Sherwood Secondary School. Came all the way to Stony Creek, as well as Blessed Trinity Secondary in Grimsby in our neighboring community, seeking a program like this and coming out to Stony Creek, as well as their peers from Orchard Park and St. John Henry Newman Secondary School. So I'm tremendously excited for the upcoming season. Tomorrow, changing gears a little bit to accommodate and welcome folks to our first Ward 10 Traffic Information Night, or a Traffic Town Hall with Director Rael, Manager Field. Probably one of the top requests in Ward 10, I'm sure the same as every other ward across the city. So that's at 6:30 at Old Stony Creek City Hall, and hope to see everybody there. And lastly, back to a youth focus on Saturday, Mayor, our robotics team at Orchard Park Secondary School, Team 2056, will be hosting its annual 2056 Ways to Inspire conference, and we have another record turnout that's anticipated to show up, with many guest speakers coming to share their knowledge base, as well as members of the team. We like to share our knowledge base from within. I kind of consider myself part of the team, although I am not. But I will be amongst the speakers. It's something I've done over the past few years. It's called the Parent Panel. It's basically a what to expect for parents whose child may be joining a team. Very happy to do that, and looking forward to a new addition to our conference, which is the community barbecue. So all are welcome to drop by for a hamburger, bag of chips, and a pop for $10. Support the team, grab some merch, and we're looking forward to an incredible event with the robotics team starting up again, ranked in the top 3 worldwide amongst 2,000 teams. Really a tradition of excellence, and really happy to be a part of that, Mayor. So with that, that's the end of the Ward 10 report for this week.
Thanks very much, Councillor Beattie. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Mayor Horvath. Speaking of Sherwood, Councillor Beattie, the Sherwood community and neighborhood is relieved, happy, and delighted to welcome back 1,200 students plus to the $14 million renovated Sherwood Secondary School that the community twice in 12 years fought for, twice with 3,000 name petition signatures, twice in saving their school in their neighborhood. And just a heartiest congratulations how the collaboration of the Sherwood neighborhood and community, Sherwood Parent Teacher Council came together, the Sherwood Students Association came together, and the broader community to save the school twice in 12 years. And the kids are back, and bonus country, on top of that, X amount of millions of dollars has been spent. They've also got a new football track and field complex that's been built. It's open. I drove by it the other night. It looks spectacular, something to match modern day standards. And the Sherwood Saints football team homecoming game is on Saturday. Nope, sorry, my apologies. On Thursday, October 3rd at 7 p.m. And it's going to be a great time. And I've got to give tremendous kudos to my public school trustee, Kathy Archer in Ward 6, who I work very, very closely with, who's just been so diligent and a constant in supporting the Sherwood community. This is just a memorable time of an effort that came to fruition in a successful way for the student body and the neighborhood. So try to come out to see the Sherwood Saints football team at at their new field on Woodside on October 3rd, 7 p.m. And as well, tomorrow, Mayor Horvath, I have one of a series of town hall meetings coming up in a CHH City Housing Hamilton building. Tomorrow will be at 1100 Lime Ridge Road East at 10 a.m. to noon. I usually get a darn good turnout of 60, 70, 80 seniors that attend that building, that 4-story building that's on Lime Ridge Road near Upper Ottawa. Upper management is joining me, and I got to give a big shout out to property manager Jackie Rosatani, who's been wonderful in arranging and working with my staff to organize this meeting for tomorrow. Looking forward to hearing from the tenants what they're happy with, what we still need to improve upon, and we'll provide the best amount of support we can for them at 1100 Lime Ridge, the Trent home. Thank you, Mayor Horvath.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Kassar, please.
Thanks, Mayor Horvath. Just one announcement. I've mentioned before about current construction on Garner Road and the impact that it's had on businesses. It's important work needs to be done, but want to just promote businesses locally there that need some help. To that end, tomorrow I'm hosting a breakfast with your councillor at Buddies of Scotland, which is one of the businesses being effective. It's a newly established business, just over a year, near Bishop Tonas High School. So from 8:30 to 10:30, inviting constituents to come buy breakfast, support a business, and have a chance to talk to the Ward 12 team. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kassar. I have Councillor Pauls for a quick second comment. I have some comments as well, but I'll let you go first.
Yeah, thank you. I just forgot, I just was reminded today for all the police, over 300 police officers from Almar to Ottawa, they're biking 700 kilometers for a memorial run for police officers who have died in the line of duty. I want to say that on Sunday, I will be going to Ottawa and marching with them, and there'll be thousands of police officers there. I have to say, my son's doing it, and so is my husband, so pray for him. 700 kilometers. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pauls. I have a few things to share as well. First and foremost, today is Franco-Ontario Day. I don't know if folks are aware, but we're celebrating Franco-Ontario Day here at the City of Hamilton. There's an event out front of our forecourt here. Folks might not know that September 25th was the date chosen for this day to mark the anniversary of the first ever raising of the Franco-Ontario flag 49 years ago on the University of Sudbury campus. The day honors and celebrates the contributions of Hamilton's French-speaking community, along with the richness and vibrancy that their culture brings to our city. So to all Franco-Ontarians living here in the City of Hamilton, joyeuse journée Franco-Ontarienne. Happy Franco-Ontarian Day, and I am going to note that next year that means it'll be the 50th, and I will commit now to try to give my entire accolades in that event en français. Okay, we'll try. September 30th, the Orange Cert Day, of course, which we've already touched on briefly with the notice, or whether with the motion that was passed. It's certainly a time for us to identify the establishment of this this day that harkens back to Phyllis Webstad, who was a residential school survivor. And folks might remember that she told her story of how her new orange shirt was taken from her when she attended her first day of school at the St. Joseph Mission Residential School. And so that's why this day is also known as Orange Shirt Day, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. The residential school era began, as we know, in the early 1870s, with the last school closing in 1996. The Mohawk Institute Residential School, located in the neighboring town of Brantford, our neighbors not too far away, is one of the oldest residential schools, which was established in 1828. If you haven't gone there to tour that facility, that site, it's quite moving. More than 150,000 Indigenous, Métis, and Inuit children attended these schools. There are an estimated 80,000 survivors living today. The city has a few events to commemorate this day, and I wanted to share them. From September 30th to October 5th, an Every Child Matters flag will be raised at City Hall in recognition of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation and Orange Shirt Day. The Hamilton signature sign will be lit orange in recognition of the day. On Monday, September 30th, there will be a community sunrise ceremony at sunrise, as well as an afternoon event hosted at West Harbour, James Street Plaza from 1 till 1:30. 5:30. The afternoon will be filled with Indigenous knowledge sharing, a survivor's story, education, and reflection. And it's hosted by the City of Hamilton's Indigenous Relations team and welcome guests, Mohawk Institute survivor, Moccasin identifier, and Spirit Vision drummers. We had the speech yesterday, my remarks to the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce on the state of the city, I guess, is the address that it was. Thank you for the councillors that attended. It was noted. Councillor Maureen Wilson, Councillor Tammy Wang, Councillor Craig Kassar, Councillor Mark Taddison, Councillor Ted McMeekin. It was a sold-out crowd. I want to say that in addition to providing the update on all the amazing stuff our city is doing, it also was an opportunity for me to thank thank everyone, yourselves and the entire community for the overwhelming response by community leaders and by businesses across the city in terms of the work that we're doing. The support that was identified and shared and continues to come in, by the way, by texts and emails, proves that Hamilton's strength, as I said in my remarks, relies not only on our community, or rather lies not only in the economy in our community, but also the community as a whole. The success of our city requires vision and forethought going into the future. It's an important dual role that we all play as people that have our local communities, but also that commitment to the decisions around the city as a whole and its future. And I think actually Councillor Clark alluded to that in his comments earlier today on another matter. The point that I raised is that we have significant growth, change at a rapid pace happening in our city. And so we need to absolutely embrace those challenges and meet them with courage, compassion, and commitment, but never lose sight of the city building responsibility that we share as a council. And I've heard former councillors and mayors from cities in other jurisdictions around the country talk about that vision and foresight being a 50-year out view that we are required to keep ever present as we make our decisions to prepare our city for the future. Airport lease deal. I could probably go on for 10 minutes, but I'm not going to. I was thrilled to announce yesterday that that deal has finally been signed. I took a picture when I signed it, just to let you know, because it was a milestone for sure. The Hamilton International Airport continues to be Canada's largest domestic express cargo airport and a crucial link in Canada's supply chain resiliency. There's just so much that can be said about that. I do want to thank particularly, though, the airport subcommittee, who has worked diligently over some time in getting that master plan approved and moving forward with the recommendation for the lease to be signed. United Way truck pull happened here in the back. What an amazing fun event that was. It was actually a bus pull. Of course, it was a bus pull. 29 teams participated, making it the biggest bus pull ever. Raised $28,961.93. So thanks to the organizing committee. Absolutely, definitely was a lot of fun. Dundas Community Food Drive, I attended on Saturday, and in Councillor Alex Wilson was there as well. Staff from my office, their families. It was at the Dundas Salvation Army, and it was for the Pure Later Tackle Hunger National Red Bag Campaign Day, as was mentioned by another councillor as well. I want to thank the Dundas Community Services for coordinating the food drive, the community for the generous donations, both in this instance and the other ones around the city. Really filling the shelves and preparing folks for the holiday season is really, really important, so that folks can have that space to celebrate it with a table full of nutritious, good food. 150th anniversary of the HSR. How many people have participated in some of the events that the HSR has put on its 150th anniversary? It's amazing. So it's something that I think we really do need to celebrate. We had a bit of a tour and a unique opportunity for our community to engage up at the bus barn. Councillor Kassar was there. It was really quite amazing, but it was only one small piece. You might recall that Tourism Hamilton had an interactive, really, display celebrating our HSR and all the wonderful people over the many years, 150, that have served in so many capacities to make that transit system a stellar system for Hamiltonians. So deep gratitude to all. Finally, as I mentioned very briefly, and so I'm not going to belabor it, but we did have the 140th season opener of the Hamilton Philharmonic Orchestra. I had the honor and privilege of welcoming the Hamilton Philharmonic Orchestra's new musical director, James S. Kahan, and Juno Award-winning pianist Philip Chu, and composer in residence Abigail Richardson Schult. It was an amazing performance, and I don't find enough time to get to these kinds of performances, but the Hamilton Philharmonic Orchestra is a gem, and it's absolutely a wonderful, beautiful evening of music. So for those who can, there's a season that's going to be quite fun. In fact, there's a couple of particular evenings where they're trying to encourage more young people and perhaps folks that have not been to the Philharmonic before. One is about music of the movies. One is about music of video games, and I want to just say that I think that's very creative of Kim Varian, the director, executive director, as well as the entire team there. On that note, I forgot to give the chair over to Councillor Pauls again, and now I will take it back. Sorry about that. Thanks very much, everyone. I don't see anybody else that wanted to say a few words, but I want to thank everybody for your statements. It always does help us kind of get a better sense of what's happening in other wards and around the city. So thanks for all your great dedication to your constituents. We are now on to the communications updates. So September 6, 2024 to September 19, 2024. Councillor Pauls, may I please have a motion to receive the council communications update listing?
Yes, moved by myself, second by Councillor Beatty, that the bills, are we at the bills or a communication?
This is a communications update. Yeah.
Okay,
That's
communication, yeah. That the listing of the council communication update from September 6, 2024 to September 19th, 2024 be received. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Pauls. Is there any thing on this list that council would like to have referred to a standing committee? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote then, please. And we don't have, oh, sorry, we'll wait for that vote to come. That carries 15-0. As I said, no private and confidential, so we're on to 12, which is bylaws and confirming bylaw. Councillor Pauls, may I please have the motion on the bills?
Yes, you may. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Beatty, that the bills number 24-162 to number 24-169 be passed, and that the corporate seal be affixed thereto, and that the bylaws be numbered, be signed by the mayor and the city clerk.
Thanks very much. Can we have that vote up, please?
Ben X on Carlos, my cousin.
That carries 15-0. Thanks very much. And finally, the motion for adjournment, moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor McMeekin. All those in favor of adjournment, please identify your desire with the vote. That carries 15 to 0. Thanks very much. Oh, thank you very much. I guess I have some bylaws to sign.
Can you read those?